What's good, you guys? This is episode 2. I just wanted to give a little intro here before our conversation with Mike Rush. It's an absolutely great conversation, but just forewarned, it was out there in the field of Robin and Sage, so audio quality kind of shit the bed when we had a diesel generator in the back there. So I've used the powers of AI to clean it up and try and zoom in a little bit. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. You know, obviously the quality is getting better with every episode, but we had some challenges with this one, but it's still a great conversation. So please do enjoy it, and mad love for checking it out. Appreciate y'all.
My parents were from Arkansas and went out to harvest fruit.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I was born there, but actually grew up in Arkansas. I consider myself an Arkansan.
So you were out there as a kid, and then as like a young child, you moved back home and went to school in
Right.
Arkansas. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. Awesome. So you would have been, so high school, 60s, 70s? Like the early
Graduated high school in 76.
76. So you're coming right out of Vietnam era sort of mentality. So, and you go straight to the military from there? Is that in your mind, or like?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So how we get from, like, you know, high school, you obviously, as anyone knows, Vietnam area was not popular to be in the military. The special forces aren't viewed as they are today.
Right.
It's just now establishing, you know, that reputation was just now being established.
Right. I was of that age where I had some older friends that actually had draft cards
Oh, okay.
for Vietnam. Of course, Vietnam completely stood down in 75. At that time in the 70s, up into the early 80s, I thought I would never do anything where they make me cut my hair. You know, a little bit of the rebel thing. Then I went to college, had horrible first attempt at college. Year and a half. This is not working for me.
I do the same thing.
So I quit college and went to work for a while. Worked for my dad. He owned a bowling alley.
Okay.
So I was kind of the manager of the bowling alley. Then he talked me into going back to school. Went back to school. Actually paid attention this time.
Yeah.
Started out with a business major.
Mm-hmm.
And decided that that was really not for me. Changed my major to secondary education.
Yeah.
Thought I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and hit that period where I really was not sure what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do.
And you would have been how old now?
I was probably, that took me up until I was 23, 24.
Okay, so you're getting to be a fully formed adult at that point. You know,
yeah, where I can make sound decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
So I when I was in college, my second attempt at college, I started reading about the military, specifically Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was of the age where I knew some guys that had draft cards. And back then you saw footage of the war every evening on the evening news.
Yeah.
And I just gained more and more interest in the military and everything. So when I decided I'm done with college, I think I had a semester left.
No
to get my
way.
degree. Yeah.
Oh, your parents must be absolutely thrilled.
I'd gone over to talk to the recruiter before I ever told my parents. And I was with them having dinner one night, and my youngest brother, there was a phone call. My youngest brother answers the phone, comes into the dining room. Mike, there's a Sergeant Cravey on the line for you. My dad, it's like, Sergeant Cravey? Anyway, that's how he first found out I was going to join the military.
So that was it like an easy decision? I mean, right then, the climate of it wasn't popular to be joining, the military. Did you go into it knowing, okay, I've seen something I want to do, or was it just like, will give me purpose? Like, was it, you thought it was going to scratch the itch?
Both, actually. I knew I wanted to be in Special Forces.
Okay, so off the bat. Okay.
Off the bat. And I knew I needed something different. I knew I needed something that I was passionate about. And if you find something in life that you're passionate about, then it's not just a job, it's fun, and it's a career.
Facts.
So I joined the military. I went in to see the recruiter and told him I wanted to be in Special Forces.
And there's no X-ray program back then.
No X-ray program back then.
How does that pitch go with the recruiting and
everything? Well, not very far.
Yeah, right.
Well, he told me, look, they don't take people off the street anymore. You got to do 4 years in the military, and then you can go to the Special Forces Qualification course and see if you make it. And I said, okay, because I have my alternates already laid out. I said, okay, fine. I want to go to the Ranger Battalion. There were only 2 Ranger Battalions back then. And he said, you know, I can do that, but I don't have any slots for it right now. And I said, okay, last chance. 82nd Airborne Infantry. I want to be a paratrooper. And he shook his head. This is a recruiter. He shook his head and said, man, I've been there. You don't want to do that. But I was determined. Yeah. You know, I was going to do what I had to do to gain experience and get the requirements, the prerequisites in to get to the Q course, Special Forces Qualification course. Yeah. And actually, anyway, I joined the Army.
In hindsight, good choice, bad choice, should have waited?
No? Good choice. No, good choice.
Okay.
The 82nd Airborne is a fine infantry division. Good professional soldiers. Great start. Yeah. Great start. I learned a lot.
Those guys seen a lot of action, so you know they had a bunch of older heads in there.
They did.
So it was a crack. Essentially, you're coming in to a bunch of seasoned guys in that outfit, right?
Yes. Almost every E7 in my company, well, throughout the battalion, in the 82nd, had been either 101st in Vietnam, Ranger Company in Vietnam, some 82nd, some Special Forces. So they were all seasoned combat veterans. And those were the guys I wanted training with. Yeah. And fantastic. If you were a good soldier and you showed interest, they would spend time training you correctly, preparing you very well with everything they knew, everything that they experienced. They wanted to pass on to you. Now, if you were not a good soldier, discipline was different back then. There was what we call wall-to-wall counseling. It could happen. It was not official. Yeah. But there were times where squad leader, E6 or so, would drag a problem child across the street and correct him and handle things that way. There was also back then on Fort Bragg in the 82nd called the Central Correction Facility, CCF.
Central Correction Facility, okay.
We called it Charlie's Chicken Farm. If you were a problem child, you could officially get sent to this place. Yep. And it was 30 days of mental and physical correction.
Camp. Like reboot camp, break them down again before building them up, or is
yes, but worse.
Worse?
Oh, much worse. And not many that I knew of had to go to Charlie's Chicken Farm. But all of them, when they came back, they were shining examples of a professional paratrooper.
100% success rate.
Yeah, pretty much, yes. Yep.
When they did away with that? Was that just that they
I'm not sure. Probably in the 80s.
Yeah. A lot of PC came through.
Yeah, exactly.
Once those Vietnam guys get out and they're like, maybe it's time to change some of that.
Yeah, and it's sad because it's something that worked really well. And nobody got hurt. Yeah. You know, nobody died. But they learned their lesson.
So in that 4 years, you're just you already know where you're heading or trying to go. And so you're just, every school, every thing you can get your hands on to do it, or they send in you, like what's the...
Yeah, the saying at that time, especially in the 82nd, because you just don't have access to a lot of schools. But the saying was, never turn down school. Yeah. Whatever course they want to send you to, do that. I was lucky my first year in the platoon, the company, they sent me to sniper school.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, it was 18th Airborne Corps sniper training course. Doesn't exist anymore. And that pissed a lot of people off. There are people who've been waiting on that course for a long time. It chose me. I was very honored, but at the same time, I pissed off some guys that wanted to go to that school. But that was, for that time, that was one of the best courses I've ever attended. And some of those skills carried throughout my career.
So just to skip forward, so when you get into special forces, are you going to be unique in the sense that most guys haven't had that experience, that class, that kind of school?
At that time, yes.
Yeah.
At that time, yes.
Is this one of those reasons why you would say, in hindsight, waiting for Rangers would not have been advantageous because your experience got you access to those schools, or
it worked out.
Yeah,
it worked out in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
Having gone to the Ranger Battalion, been better. I would have gotten Ranger School.
Yeah.
At that time, if I'd have been in the Ranger Battalion, which I didn't, you couldn't get to Ranger School.
There was no like, I hear you.
There were other courses that you get. I never got to attend any of them. Really, Sniper School, my first year, and then we deployed to Grenada that first year.
Oh, so you deployed before you got to SF?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. How'd that go? Just
we deployed on Operation Urgent Fury, Grenada. I know that was 100 years ago, but it was funny. I had a roommate at the time, and our company was scheduled to go to the field one morning. And I get the call at like 2, 4 in the morning, something like that, reporting out.
Mm-hmm.
And I just assumed we're going to a practice call out and go to the field like we had planned. And my roommate had fallen asleep on the couch with the TV on and the news. So I woke him up on my way out. Hey man, got a call, got to go in early. And at that time on the news, they were talking about the U.S. naval blockade around Grenada. And jokingly, I said, yeah, that's where I'm going. No clue. No clue.
So for just a little background, you want to give a little background to the guys. What was Grenada in your understanding of what was that about? And because a lot of guys aren't going to have heard of it.
Grenada, very Cuban-influenced communist regime.
Okay.
They had some internal trouble. Hardcore guy took over. Put a very popular politician in house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
The people were upset with that. So the people in a protest march up the street demanding that this guy, Sir Governor Paul Scuba, demanding that he is released from house arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way the communist government handled that at the time was to drive into the crowd with BTR-60s, which is an armored wheeled vehicle with, I don't know, a Russian version of a 50 cal, and just start mowing people down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's on film. Hard to find, but it's on film. And as they're mowing people down, people are running, obviously, and some people are like jumping off this bluff to get away. So that was kind of the
trigger,
the key moment and the trigger that where everything went awry. So the Organization of American States went to President Reagan. Look, we need help. We want you involved in this. And it appeared that the Reagan administration was really not wanting to get involved. But when that happened, that changed everything. So Urgent Fury was spun up, Operation Urgent Fury was spun up, and Ranger Battalion guys jumped in from 500 feet to secure the airfield.
That's low.
Well, combat jump is 500 feet.
Okay.
Because once you get canopy and you're dangling in the air, getting shot at is a very uncomfortable thing. So you want to spend as little time in the air as possible. Yeah. Get on the ground, get organized, and take care of business. Mm-hmm. So they jumped from 500 feet. That's on film too. You can find it.
Okay, right.
They seized the airfield. Other units attacked Richmond Hill Prison. They got shot up pretty bad. A lot of helicopters got shot down. The Grenadians and Cubans had really good air defenses. Old school air.
They would have been Russian trained, I'm assuming, at this point.
The Cuban.
but through Russia. If they're
Yes.
Cuban, that would have been through Russia.
Russian equipment.
Yeah,
Cuban training.
there you go. Yeah.
There were Cubans on the island as well. A lot of them were soldiers. A lot of them participated in the fight. They called some of them, civilian engineers.
Our equivalent of advisors.
That was cover short.
Yep.
So they take the airfield. Now the 82nd can put people on C-141s and fly them into a secure airfield. Excuse me if I have horrible science. I think I was in 3rd Platoon, Charlie Company, 1st 508th Airborne Infantry. 505 sent a battalion, maybe the 325, but there was a battalion that got there before.
And just for the guys, the battalion is how many guys?
A battalion's probably 600 guys. And so they arrived at the airfield. They pushed forward. We came in on C-141 also. It's funny because just before we landed, word came out that all right, the airstrip is hot. Okay. We landed. Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. So, typical military confusion. You get off the aircraft, you got your heavy ruck, your weapon, your kids, carrying 5-gallon water cans or whatever, and we moved quickly to one end of the airstrip. No, we got to go to the other end of the airstrip. So we hump over there with everything, and we relieved. It might have been part of the 325, maybe 05 in place on some high ground on the edge of the airstrip, right in front of a battery of 105 howitzers. At our level, we didn't know really what the situation was.
Mm-hmm.
It was a confusing operation because there were no maps of Grenada. Everyone was operating off pretty much tourist maps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Very difficult to coordinate a large operation.
Yeah.
Off tourist maps. Also, oh man, there's some hard lessons learned with Grenada. Like one, there were Navy involved, there was Air Force involved, there were Marines involved, and there was Army.
Also, well, everything, every branch.
Every branch. And no one could talk to the other branch because all the combo was different.
Nice.
Oh, it was very confusing.
So
I think the Marines could talk to the Navy, but that was about it.
So how are you getting messages to and from to coordinate stuff?
That's a good question. I was a PFC.
So yeah.
So the only thing I know is what the platoon sergeant or squad leader or the LT comes down and tells.
Yeah.
So we assumed these positions in front of the 105s, and we were maybe, 25 meters in front of the 105s, and we're kind of wondering what's going on. And I checked out what was to the front of us, and I could see we were kind of on high ground. There was some low ground, and then another hilltop a few hundred meters away, and some people on that hilltop. And through my optics, I could tell they were 82nd.
Okay.
And wearing the Kevlars. You spot that from a mile away. And then one of the artillerymen came running down to our position and said, "Stay in your holes. We're about to open up." Okay, we'll stay in our holes.
Yeah.
No problem, man.
Yeah.
So they opened up on a target just over the tree line in front of us, a few hundred meters away. Naval gunfire was coming in. Mortar fire was going out. And right behind us, behind the artillery, like 8 Blackhawks spun up.
Yeah.
Ranger bat. Yeah. And they flew right over us into this target that was being prepped. Turned out to be the raid on Calvigny Barracks. They thought there was an enemy troop concentration there. It was a little bit. So our all support fire ceases. These guys go in, and like I said, it's like just a few hundred meters in front of us, just over the tree line. You can hear this fight. And it was a good fight. It went on probably 45 minutes, something like that.
That's a long time.
And you can you can hear a gunfight and tell what's going on. You can tell when they first get off the birds. Well, they were taking fire before the birds ever landed.
Oh, really? So they came right out off of the mortar and they didn't hunker down.
Well, they didn't have an opportunity. Support fire ceased. The birds were coming in, and enemy fire came in on the bird. So you can hear the fight. They get off the birds. They get into the fight, try to gain fire superiority. Fight crescendos. Then you hear it die down a little bit. Grenades go out. A little more fire after that, and then eventually all the fire ceases.
Yep.
While this is going on, between that fight and us, for these 82nd guys were, that I told just now, air support was coming from Navy A7s, Corsair 2s. They were support for this fight. They're loitering, and then this one A7 takes a dive, and you can see smoke billow off his fuselage. And the sniper buddy said, look like he just got shot down. And it wasn't incoming for the aircraft. It was him putting 30 millimeter on those 32nd.
Oh, wow. Wow, a friendly fire on that.
Yeah.
Damn.
30 millimeter at 2,000 rounds a minute. It just went all over. So I don't know how many were killed and wounded. They brought 3 Jeep loads of casualties back up. We had Army Jeeps back then. So anyway, that fight that the Rangers were in.
So the only difference between you being over there and not is just that, you're the second guys on the ground.
Second or third.
Yeah.
Third, I think.
Yeah. So you got kind of lucky on that one.
I did. It hit the fight, but if you hit in the fight, friendly fire, that's just that.
That's sad.
And when that happened, like everybody on the line, you witness it, and it takes a minute for that to process. Everything, all of us on the line, everything just stopped. You stop, and you look, everyone's quiet.
That just
happened.
Yeah.
They just did that. With the fire on our guys. And, I feel sorry for, obviously, the people that were hit. I feel sorry for the person that called that in. It was a Marine Anglophone.
Right.
He called it in. And I also feel sorry for the pilot.
Yeah.
Did that. So back to the fight. At the barracks, like I said, you could hear crescendo, grenades go out, it die off, it finally ends, and then all the birds come back right over us and land on the airstrip. Like I said, there were 8 birds that went out, 5 that came back.
How many guys to a bird? Just throw numbers.
We had seats out at the time,
okay.
So you could get a lot of people in the bird.
Gotcha.
Basically, it looked like 8 birds. Good part of a company, maybe. But I have a friend that was on one of those birds as a door gunner. He was a paratrooper infantryman like me. But he got like a hey you at the last second.
No,
Yes, he got voluntold. You're a door gunner. So I got the story from the fight on the ground at the barracks, Calvigny Barracks also. And he said they came in, they were taking fire already. The first bird took fire and nosed in early. I think he said one of the pilots got hit. So it noses in early, and the bird right behind it nosed into it, and then the bird behind that, the third bird, nosed in
to death for
the 2 already were great. So Cliff said in his bird, when a bird goes down, the rotors are still turning, chewing up the ground. And he said the bird would flip. He said, all right, I started to get out. And he said, the crew chief said, no, not yet. He said the rotor dug in again and it flipped one more time. And the crew chief said, oh, all right, we can get out now. He said he got out of the bird. He said there were dead and wounded body parts everywhere because a lot of people got chopped up. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know. I would not say a lot of people, but people got chopped up.
Thrown from the initial guys for sure.
Right. And then right into the fight.
Yep.
Said there was one person, a leader, that was just standing there in a daze.
Just shocked.
The Cliff had to shake him into reality. But he said that it appeared that all the artillery that was supposed to prep that target was just going along over the ridge. So there was really...
So they really didn't have to hunker down as soon as it was over.
Yeah.
That was my curiosity. Because normally you'd say you stop them up and get to land and then they poke their heads out.
Exactly.
That did not.
That did not happen. So after that, next morning, it was the first time we moved out. So we formed up, and we're wearing these Kevlar vests and your NBC masks.
So there's no plates back then. This is Kevlar.
There are no plates.
Yeah,
no.
This is the Kevlar quintessential one you see from the 80s.
Yeah,
the neck guard kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, got you.
Yep.
So what's that stopping?
Maybe some shrapnel.
So really,
no bullets.
Yeah, this is a different kind of mentality versus what you get today.
Mentality. Yeah. And also, like before we launched, this was in October '83. Before we launched from Fort Brecken, the airfield there, it was cold. It was cold as hell.
Okay.
And once we got to Grenada and the doors opened up, that tropic humidity smacked you right in the face, man. It was awful. A big change.
Yeah.
From
first couple of days, you're just sweating.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we form up and move out, and the first thing we do is make a company-sized pile, a flak vest on one side of the company, and a pile of NBC masks on the other. Like, well, we're not going to need
these. What's NBC mask?
Your chemical.
Okay. Got you.
Nuclear, biological, chemical protective rings. And then we moved out. We made contact 2 or 3 times that day. Really nothing serious. Then after that, also, let me go back to the airfield. Sorry.
No. This first night, so I'm on it.
The first night, and this is after the raid on the barracks, the big fight. Like I said, lots of birds got shot down in Grenada. Blackhawks and Cobras. And on the northern part of the island, the Marines lost a 46. They're all saved. Their version of a Chinook. So, in the night, you can hear a unit out to your front. And it's so dark. In the jungle, it's so dark. And you could hear their perimeter open up like 2 or 3 times. Because there were still bad guys out there.
Yeah.
And anyway, funny, it turned out later that they're opening up on sound to their front. They killed a bunch of pigs.
Oh.
But it takes a while.
Pitch black, I'm sure it's terrifying.
Yep.
I'm sure it's terrifying.
So, also during the night, we had AC-130.
Okay.
I think they had 2 or 3 there at one time. They always had one in the air. And it's very comforting, that AC-130 covering. So, the Grenadians, or the Cubans, down to our front, out in the open.
Even then, you're like, those guys on fuck.
Oh, yeah. They opened up, they got maybe a 1 second burst off, and then the AC-130 replied. And it was like, oh, for like 30 seconds nonstop. We're all just laughing.
America!
Yeah, that was a really, really bad decision. So, sorry, I'm going back and forth.
I love, yeah,
Night
that's
to
perfect. That's
day,
how these
night
stories
to day.
happen, man. Like, you know what I mean?
So that day when we picked up and moved out, we walked past that anti-aircraft position. 3 guys had manned it, and they were splattered.
Just big miss.
Oh, yeah. It's bad. Also, before we got the anti-aircraft gun, like day 1, when the Rangers were the only people there, the Grenadians decided to make an assault up the hill onto the airfield against the Ranger bat
Oh, okay.
with 2 BTR-60
And those are.
armored personnel carriers
Got you.
that are wheels,
I got you.
8 wheel, and they
No problem.
Ranger bat, you know, Mike Lopez, he was there,
Oh, really?
yeah, with the Ranger bat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He said,
So you know each other now, but y'all didn't know each other back
No.
then. Oh, okay.
No.
Wow. That's small community.
oh,
small world.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The guy is a door gunner I met here in Sage.
Wow.
Mike Lopez, I met working in Sage. But Mike said when those 2 BTR-60s come rolling up the hill, he said, first of all, we're paratroopers. And when armor charges up a hill at you,
Yeah.
you know, you sweat a little bit. Anyway, they were opening up on the BTR-60s with every tube that they had, laws and 90mm recoilless rifles. And I think the AC-130 got involved as well. So they were knocked out. We walked past them, and man, it was a mess inside those things. Those guys didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
Then past the anti-aircraft gun, they never had a chance. And then down past it, there was a bend in a road, dirt road. And they were, I don't know if they were Cuban or Grenadian, but they had laid in an L-shaped ambush for a Ranger Reconnaissance Jeep a day or 2 prior. And they had shot up the Ranger Jeep badly. It was still there, burned to the ground. I think they killed everybody except one guy. Killed all the Rangers except one guy on that recon Jeep. And that guy did get in the fight, because when we walked past it, there was, when you dig a position, it's either a full-blown fighting position or what we call a Ranger grave. It's just a hasty fighting position, just enough to lay down in, get a little parapet to your front, and fight from it. Well, they had done that, the Grenadians. But that guy had taken a hit right to the head. So the guy, one Ranger back guy on the Jeep that lived, got some.
Yeah, he got
before
smashed.
he got
Yeah.
out of the fight.
Because, like I said, those Jeeps aren't like Hummers and stuff like that. They are
They're
not
no
armored.
armor.
They're not
No.
armored. They are not. Those things you can pick them up.
Yes,
I've got.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's a, trying to pick the picture there. It's like you get ambushed on that. It's just you jump and run.
Well, in an L-shaped ambush too.
Yeah.
I mean, interlocking fire.
Yeah.
That one guy's lucky.
Yeah, you got to go with the boots on.
But like I said,
Yeah.
he got one of them before he got out of it.
Nice.
Moved past that, made contact a couple times that day. Called in. One comforting thing: the first night we moved out, we were behind schedule. So the commander decides to get on the road and move down the road, company size element, very fast pace, and then dark.
Yep.
If you walk on roads, that's where you get ambushed. Now, you can't just throw up an ambush out in the middle of no place.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the woods and hope somebody walks through it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You put up ambushes on roads and trails. And here we are, moving down the road at a fast pace, dark. The only comforting factor we had doing that was the AC-130 rovers. So
Yeah.
that was it. We finally moved into a position where we were going to stay the night. Moved into a building. I think we had some enemy dead in the building that we were staying in. Different buildings. Everybody took position. Leadership assigned sectors of fire. Make sure you had interlocking fire. Had a rotation for security. and we kept like 50% security the whole
Okay.
time. And so you're running for days.
And typically, what would security have been if it had been?
Typically, you hope to be in a position where you can take it down to 33%.
Okay.
So you got one guy on security, two guys resting. 50% security is tough, man. You're up a lot.
One in, one out. Yeah.
Yeah. And it after a couple of 3 days, it's going to turn you into a zombie.
Yeah.
But you still have to focus, still have to do your job. After things settled down, we moved into a position back near the airfield. There was dead in front of us and dead right behind our position, and we were on the leeward side of the hill, so the flood.
Okay.
And a body
Just
in
smell
the
it.
jungle,
Yeah.
and it gets right fast. So, you know, and I don't mean to get
Please do. But the profanity ticker is on.
okay.
So
you're sitting in your position. You really can't dig much of a fighting position because you can dig about 6 inches down and then you hit volcanic rock.
Okay.
So we dug the best positions we can. We sat there, keep security, watch the dogs and eat the dead, watch the chickens eat the maggots out of the dead. Then that smell.
yeah.
But I don't know, you adapt to it. One afternoon, there was one of the guys from the company headquarters comes down, had something for us, and we're sitting there eating sea ration. And he said, "Hurry up!" And we go, "What? That smell? What smell?" But we ran aerosols out of there for a few days, and really, that was about all of the fight.
Yeah. So the initial pushback, and then, like I said, they were placated.
One gratifying thing, you know, these guys that today go to Syria, have been in Iraq or Afghanistan, they come back, and especially the Vietnam guys.
Yeah.
You know, they come back and get spit upon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No parades or greetings or, you know, crowds to greet you or
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that. And we didn't either, but, you know, ours was nothing
Yeah.
like Vietnam. So we're in the back of trucks one day. I think we're in the back of dump trucks. And we're moving up this road to clear out part of St. George's in Grenada.
Okay.
And we pass this house, and there's this large black Grenadian woman sitting on a chair on her porch. And as we go by, she sees that it's U.S. Army, and she stands to her feet, throws her arms in the air, and said, "God bless Uncle Reagan." So we're like, "Yep, you know,
Yeah. Doing the right thing. Yeah. Man, that's intense. That's really, and you weren't. I mean, obviously, you weren't expecting that. So you're planning. You know, I mean, from there, that just reaffirms I want to be special, because there was no interaction with those guys over there, the special forces. So that reaffirmed you're like, I'm about this.
Yeah.
In the sense, I want to take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then later on, it was after Grenada, I got selected to go to the sniper school that I had gone
Oh,
through.
so you had been there, you know. Okay.
And, well, I'd been there, yes, as a student. But I was selected to go back as instructor.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I did that for a year and a half in my 4-year tour in the 82nd. And we had 7th Special Forces Group was on Fort Bragg at the time, and 1 battalion of 5th Group was still on Fort Bragg. They were in the middle of their move to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, 5th Group.
And just for the guys at home, 5th and 7th Group, that when you talk about groups, that's, you know, geographically located where they operate. So where would 5th and 7th Group be operating?
Yeah, Special Forces Groups are area oriented. You get to learn the languages and the cultures and work the same area of the world, same region of the world all the time. 7th Group works Central and South America. 5th Group works, at that time, it was Africa. So we would have 5th Group and 7th Group guys come through sniper course as students, and I got to know those guys. In that kind of reaffirmed my desire
Yeah.
to go to group. These guys were great, professionals, not arrogant at all.
Yeah.
Funny, had great stories.
Yeah.
So that reaffirmed my desire to go to special forces.
And was there any challenge in getting put through the Q course? I mean, at this point, you're a pretty solid school as an instructor. So how hard was the transition to say, hey, it's time for me to go do this?
Well, I had to wait and re-enlist for it.
Okay.
It's very difficult to get out of GH. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how did that process look?
Well, after I finished my time as an instructor at sniper school, I went back to my same platoon in the 82nd. I've been promoted to E5 buck sergeant at the time, and went back to the 82nd to take a squad leader position. So I get some leadership time. And also, like the last 6 months at the sniper school, they put me in charge of that. So, here I am at brand new E5.
I was about to say, that's.
I'm in charge of a sniper training course. I'm signed for a building, all the equipment, 1, 2, 3 or 4 ranges.
Just wouldn't have the day for shoulder, right?
Oh no!
I was about to say that sounds obscene out of character.
No.
What you see today.
So I had to adapt very quickly to being in a leadership role.
Mm.
But I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Went back, like I said, went back to 82nd, same platoon, became a squad leader, learned a lot. And then made a decision to see the re-enlistment guy and told him I wanted to re-enlist, go to the Q course. Special Forces Qualification course.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the Q course. I had to re-enlist for it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you make it or do you not in the Q course? And it's a very low percentage of people that do.
Facts.
So I'm rolling the dice on 4 years of my life.
And like I said, even back then they can send you where if you fail, you're not guaranteed to go back to the 82nd.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So when I went for my levy briefing, it's your briefing before you transfer.
Okay.
They hand you a packet, and I noticed in my packet was orders for Korea.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so if I had not gone to the Q course, I would have been on my way to Korea for like the 2nd Infantry Division.
I got you.
Much had rather
Yeah.
gone to the Q course, pass, and go to group.
And so what did the Q course involve back then? Was it the same as it is today, or?
It is not.
It's not.
SERE was not in the Q course at the time.
Okay.
Language was not in the Q course at the
okay.
time. SFAS, the Special Forces Assessment and Selection, was not in the Q course at the time. That selection and Phase 1 patrolling took place within a month.
Okay.
So a lot of people got
wow. So that's a hard look.
out.
Yeah, that's it. That's a much harder look. Right, look period of time.
It was expedient.
Okay.
So started Q course late January.
Selection was
87.
So and that would have been like, sorry, I guess I phrased the question on selection, but I guess it's the same as it is today. Like the actual physical selection.
Not really.
It wasn't. Okay.
No. Like carrying jeeps around and all that stuff. No, we didn't do that.
Gotcha.
It was more like Camp McCall.
Yeah.
So Phase 1 takes place at Camp McCall. They stopped the trucks about a kilometer out.
Mm-hmm.
You had a rucksack, your LBE, your kit, and a duffel bag.
Mm-hmm.
And they start yelling and screaming, get off the truck, form up, get all your gear, put your rucksack on, your A bag, and you start running up the hill.
Right.
And we had 350 people.
Okay.
And by the time we got to the fence on Camp McCall proper, that 350 had been pared down a lot.
Wow.
And like,
so immediate off the
you're out, you quit, you're out.
Immediately.
Yep.
Wow.
And then once you get up there, big smoke session, push-ups, flutter kicks, all this selection type stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And lose a lot more people. And so then I think the first thing we learned was land navigation. First part of phase 1. Best land navigation training I've ever received.
Okay.
Outstanding. We had 2 or 3 days in the classroom. Stuff I'd never seen before in the 82nd. And then they took us all out to Hoffman for the land nav course. And we did 2 or 3 days of practice, day and night, with rucksack and kids.
GPS did not exist.
GPS did not exist.
There was no 4-eye check on that
No.
one. It was you, and you.
You, and you. And it was a good point. It was an individual task.
Yep.
You had a map and a compass. You're given grid coordinates. And you're looking for this little metal stake in the ground with a piece of plastic on it that had a number and a punch.
Mhm.
And you had a card, a land nav card that had all your, well, it didn't have all your points on it. You didn't know what your next point was until you found your first.
Yeah.
So you find your first point and you punch that section of your card and it makes a little symbol so they know you were there. And you had, I don't know, maybe 3 points to find during day and night, and they were all like 3, 4, 5 kilometers apart. So after a couple days of day and night practice, I'm like, all right, I think I got this. So what I would do during the practice after that, I go out and find my first point, punch my card, move into a hide site, kind of go to ground. This is a marathon. Few courses is a marathon.
Got you.
So I would come back. Yeah, I couldn't find my last 2 points. Sorry. But I'm getting rest.
Yeah.
And as I'm lying there in my little hide site, I could see these other guys hauling ass trying to find all these points, you know.
Yeah.
And you're going to burn out.
They're gonna kick you out for that nowadays.
Well,
That's hilarious.
you know, maybe they needed that practice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I'd gotten enough in that I decided,
Yeah.
all right, I got this. But man, they were hauling ass to find every point, and they're burning a lot of energy, not getting any rest. So then it came, I think it was a Friday. We went out on Monday to the land nav training. On Friday, we had our first test. So you go out for a day test, and you come back to land nav base. Get something to eat. You know, hand them your land nav card. Get something to eat. Now, at this point, you have to find all your points.
Yep. This is the exam time.
This isn't the exam. You go out during the day, find all your points. You come back, turn your card in. Yeah, you pass. Get something to eat. When it gets dark, we'll gather everybody up, send them out on the night test. So I go out on my night test, find my first couple of points. I'm like, okay, yeah. And keep in mind, again, that you're trying to find a little metal stake in the ground at night. You can't use a light.
Yeah.
If they see you using a light,
There's no red light back
you're
then.
kicked out. No, you couldn't use it.
Okay, got you.
If you got to the point, you could use the light.
So how
to punch
so
your
it was
card.
just to go in the dark dials, or like how did you actually see the compass you were?
Oh, you could use a red light on your map,
I got you. Yes. Okay.
and then compass.
I got you.
And the red light once you found your point.
Oh.
But other than that, to make your during movement, if you got caught using a light, you're out.
Gotcha.
If you got caught using a road, you got kicked out. And they would have people out watching the roads for people like this. If you got caught talking to anyone, if someone is looking for assistance and a fellow student, hey man, I need some help, or if you got caught asking for help, you're out. A lot of people got kicked out for that. I moved up to one point, and when you cross the road, you could only cross it at a certain angle. Otherwise, it was cheating.
Got you.
Couldn't
No
use the roads. So I moved up to a road to cross during my night test, and I hear some guy come running down the road. I'm like, oh, that's unusual. And it was a student who ran by, hauling ass. Wonder what's up with that. And then a couple seconds later, I hear another guy right down the road. It's an instructor chasing this guy.
No.
I'm like, well, too bad for him. He's probably going to get caught. He's done. So I pass day and night. And we start, like I said, we started at the beginning of phase 1 with 350 people. At the end of land nav test, we probably had 50, 60 people left.
Wow, okay. So just wholesale at that point. You
Wholesale.
really have to do without it left.
Yep. And then after phase 1, one more thing about phase 1. My big concern was the swim test.
Got you.
I was really not a swimmer. The test was get in the pool with uniform and boots, and you had to swim down and back, Olympic-sized pool. So it's like 50 down, 50 back. I got in the pool, and I couldn't swim. I was pretty much a dog paddler.
Oh, wow.
So I dog paddled down and back and barely made it. The commander of phase 1 attack, he was walking alongside the pool, watching me, thinking he was going to have to get in and save me at any point. I barely made it.
Yeah.
Barely made
That's all that
it.
matters sometimes.
Yep. So that was a big benchmark for me.
Yeah.
To make it past.
So once you passed that, that was like one of the real mental hurdles you had.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. After phase 1, well, I'm sorry. The rest of phase 1 was patrolling. Some teams had really hardcore instructors who went out and patrolled day and night for I forget how many days. Rucks were really heavy. Snow and ice on the ground. Miserable weather. We finally make it back. Thank God that's over. That was a gut check.
Yes.
And we see this other team. They've broken them down into teams. At the time, student team come walking in. Like half of them are carrying someone else's ruck on top of their ruck, and the rest are carrying a casualty.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm like, oh, sucks to be them.
Yep.
Staff Sergeant Gallup was the instructor for those guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't get that bad.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much phase 1. And like I said, it thinned the numbers significantly.
So once you make it past that and you've got a group of 50 guys and you make it to the next phase, that's essentially now from that point to school, right? Or are you still being risking getting kicked out? And not making the cut?
You're still risking getting kicked out.
At that point, do you join other guys, or is it still just that core group of 50?
You would pick up recycling.
Got you.
Along the way.
Gotcha.
Some people had the opportunity, like if they failed a phase, would have the opportunity. You could recycle one phase.
Got you.
So we picked up some recycles also. Phase 2, everyone went to their military occupational specialty. In Special Forces, that's either a weapons sergeant, commo sergeant, medical sergeant, or an engineer sergeant, demo guy. I went to the weapons force.
Gotcha. And so the officers are in there with you too also during this time?
Officers had their own.
Oh, they had their own. Okay.
Yeah, the Alpha officers in 18.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they had their own course. Branch course.
Yep. And so you get, at what point do you don't get to pick which group you want to go for? Do you get to like say, hey, I would prefer.
Did.
Oh, you do? Okay,
I did.
So,
I was lucky.
okay.
And you know, when I re-enlisted for the Q course, back then you had to re-enlist for an MOS. And they had group at that time had way too many Bravos, weapons guys. Being an infantryman, that's what I wanted to be in Special Forces. So I went to see the re-enlistment guy, and I'm talking, okay, well, I want to be a Special Forces engineer. Infantry, right? Yes. Don't you want to be a 18 Bravo weapons sergeant? Well, yeah. He said, well, they just brought that back. So that's what I.
So you got lucky. You got lucky.
I got what I wanted. So the weapons course, you learn about all kinds of foreign weapons. inside and out. How to employ them, how to operate them, how to maintain them, fix them if they break, tear them all apart, put them back together. We did some patrolling, advanced patrolling in the weapons course also, not much, but some. But big test for a weapons guy in the weapons course is what they call a pile test.
Okay.
They'll take 4 different weapons: a machine gun, battle rifle, a submachine gun, and a pistol. Tear them completely apart, pile all the parts up in a pile, and then you're on the clock.
Oh, wow.
Separate all the parts, put all the weapons back together, functions check, and let the instructor test them, make sure they're operating.
That's fun.
Well, you know, and again, you've got your career on the line for the next, I forget how much time we had, 15 minutes, 30, whatever. You know, it's a little
pressure.
Sweat fest.
Yeah.
And I had to retake pile tests.
All right.
Because one of the weapons in my pile was an M14. And someone who had tested on this pile prior to me had, I guess, didn't do very well, and they had bent up a lot of the parts.
Oh, wow.
And I could not get the M14 back together and functioning correctly. So I failed the pile test. So it's like, all right, take lunch, you'll retest.
No pressure, enjoy
no
lunch.
pressure, yeah. So anyway, that afternoon, that afternoon I come back in for the pile test, and I made sure I picked a different pile, and no sweat.
Nice. So how much in your, like, so you got to pick your group you're going for. How much of the language did you factor? How much did that factor in, like the whole language section of it? So like, I'm going to be better at this versus Russian, or like, you know, versus picking up.
None really.
No, you
didn't re-enlist for a group.
Oh, got you.
You were assigned.
Yeah.
And when we started back then, when you started the Q course, you had orders to go to the Q course, and those orders also included a group. Should you make it?
Oh, wow. Okay. So you knew where you were heading if you made it.
I did.
Okay.
I had orders for 7th group.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, and I knew some of those guys from when they were students in the sniper course.
Gotcha.
And I well, good. I know some of these guys are really good guys. I'll enjoy going to 7th group. Well, halfway through phase 2 in the weapons course, a good percentage of us, our orders changed.
Oh, okay.
I was one.
Oh, wow, that's fun.
I was handed orders for 1st group.
Which is area location on that one?
Southeast Asia.
Got you.
And when I got my orders, you know, several of us are standing there. 1st group, I've never even heard of 1st group. Like, where the hell is that? And the guy standing next to me said, oh, that's Fort Lewis, Washington. It's the best kept secret in the Army. They love it. Okay. And really, I'm glad it worked out.
Okay.
Still had phase 3 to go. But and the language is there, you know, very difficult. Like 7th group, Spanish. They've got one, two countries in their AO.
Bit of Portuguese, bit of Spanish. Yeah. And it's still
Castilian,
the same. You can get by.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's Spanish, and half those guys are in Hernandez or Rodriguez, or, you know, if not, then they're married to a Hernandez or a Rodriguez, and they have an instructor at home they can go to for language. And they get a lot of immersion also. In 1st group, we also had part of the Soviet Union at that time. So Russian, Mandarin Chinese.
Domino effect is still fully subscribed to back then.
Yes. Russian, Mandarin Chinese, Korean, Thai, Tagalog, you know, all like level 3, level 4 languages.
You went from Spanish to that.
And I'm a product of the Arkansas public school system. And you're gonna try to teach me Russian. But I didn't know that at the time. All I knew was 1st group, never heard of it. You know, 1st group had been stood down for some time. Well, they had just stood it back up in 84.
Okay.
So I'm in the Q course in 87.
Okay, got you.
So if I continue on in the Q course, I successfully complete phase 3, then I'm going to 1st group. And I'm glad I did.
Yep.
I really enjoyed first group for the most part.
Got you. So you finished phase 3 in 88, 87?
Summer of 87.
Summer 87. And then from there, like you said, you don't do SERE, you don't do that until after, or is that in phase 3?
SERE was Sage. I'm sorry. Phase 3 was Sage.
Okay, phase 3 was Sage.
Yeah.
And then from there, you still have schools to do SERE, or is there...
SERE was a volunteer course.
Oh,
at that
okay.
time.
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
right.
you had to be crazy enough to volunteer to go there. Language was handled by the group,
Got you.
which, in my opinion, it should still be handled by the groups because groups are area oriented. You know, in SWIC, Special Warfare Center, this is just my opinion. You should not get area specific. Like Sage is not area specific.
Yeah.
It's general because students have to graduate from the Q course and go
Where?
first group, fifth group, 10th group, third group, whatever. So back then, language was handled by the groups.
Gotcha.
You would go to what they call CLP, the Command Language Program, on that post you're assigned to,
Right.
3 months at a time. So I had 3 months of Russian, 3 months of Korean. I had, all in all, probably 6 or 9 months of Russian. 2 or 3 times to Russian. CLP. I had 3 months of Korean, and about 6 weeks of Spanish. I spoke Spanish better than it.
Yeah, I was about to say, none of those are connected.
No.
None of them.
Well, at the time, for a little while, the first group, we were deploying down south with 7th Group. That was just a very short period. So that's why we went to a Spanish
Got you.
language CLP.
So summer of 87, you graduated. What's the first thing you did? You just got your picture of the Green Beret. You just graduated. What did you do?
Yeah.
Go out for dinner? What did you do?
Had my my girlfriend was out
Got you.
at the time. Lawyer from Arkansas.
Okay.
I have a picture of her and I together right after graduation.
Mhm.
So when I first got to put the Green Beret on, very, very proud.
Oh, I imagine.
I really don't remember. I'm sure there were some beers and pizza involved.
Beers,
Yeah.
pussy, pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. Oh, she was cruel.
They are at that age.
Phase 1, like again, selection type stuff still
Yeah.
going on.
And you got a girlfriend the whole time.
I got a girlfriend the whole time, and she would send me stupid shit because your mail had to come to the cadre. You had to open your mail in front of the cadre because they didn't want people sending food or,
Yeah. Secrets or whatever.
Yep. So she would send me like G.I. Joe Green Berets, and I would get smoked. What? You think you're a Green Beret already?
Oh, no.
She did that shit on purpose. But yeah. So right after
Cute.
graduation, yeah. Right after graduation, celebrated with her. Stayed on Fort Bragg just long enough to get out processed.
Mm-hmm.
And jumped in the car and headed to Fort Lewis, Washington. Stopped at home in Arkansas. On the
She
way.
drove across the country from North Carolina all the way over the West Coast.
Well, in a '77 Corvette with everything I owned in the car. There was no room for anything.
I love it. A two-seater.
She was in a separate vehicle.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Dude, that is hilarious.
No, that's the way everybody did it.
Yeah.
Back then.
That's nothing. That's like take a duffel bag in the trunk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever can fit in the passenger seat and behind the
A
seat.
Corvette.
Yeah.
I love it. And a comfortable way to do it too, right? Like,
Yeah, well, it was.
Yeah.
I had no problem with it.
That's
was
awesome.
fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, looking back on that, was fun.
So you get to Washington, and I mean, we're not in any active conflicts at the time. There's no, I mean, obviously Southeast Asia is constantly going on, but like, what were your next steps there once you joined first group?
When I first got there, I just wanted to be assigned down to a team and be a good team guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're so used to the way the regular Army does business. So in process, the Army there at Fort Lewis, and I got down to the battalion headquarters at Fort Lewis. Stayed there for a day or two in processing there. And there was this black guy, E6, that was in charge of personnel, S1 at the time. Good guy. Squared me away, gave me all good advice. So the first night, and I got a barracks room. And these are old World War II barracks. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Had individual rooms in the barracks. No leadership ever came up there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's some stories came out of that barracks. Anyway, he said, yeah, tomorrow morning, 6:30 formation and PT. Okay, so what's the uniform for PT? Whatever you want, man. Well, what?
This is a trick?
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Very different.
Yeah.
Very different, but cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, in process there, got assigned down to a team. I went to ODA 151, which was a CQB team.
Okay.
And I really had very little CQB experience.
And just for guys at home, CQB is?
Close quarter battle.
Gotcha.
Building, urban combat. And I really didn't have much experience at that, whatever training we did in the 8th Second. That really was not much of a focus back then. My team sergeant was Sergeant First Class Rich Weber. Rich, loved you, man. Great guy. And group and the battalion, there were 2 battalions on Fort Lewis, and they had a battalion on Okinawa. They're still trying to fill battalions. Like I said, they just stood back up in 84. So we only had 2 companies per battalion at the time. And word was eventually we were going to stand up another company in both battalions. My team sergeant wanted to move over to the new company when it stood up and be a scuba team.
Ah.
So when I get there, he says, so how well do you swim?
So this is where it comes together. Okay.
Yeah. I said, Sergeant, I'll be honest, I swim like a rock. And he's big paws. So, well, we'll take care of that. And I did not like where this is going. So get processed into the team. Great bunch of guys. Absolutely loved it. Loved Fort Lewis. Loved the mission. We were either direct action or special reconnaissance.
Gotcha.
So it's either raids or reconnaissance where you lie in a high position and conduct surveillance on like the main supply route or something for a day. And having been a sniper,
I was about to say, how much did that completely lean into that?
Man, I was on it.
Yep.
Having been a sniper trooper.
Yep.
Because a lot of being a sniper involves lying in a hide for days watching an area and reporting.
And we got to just note that the sniper school and sniper logic back then was all by your mind. All the calculations, all the distances, everything had to be calculated on pen and paper or in your head.
Or in your head, yeah, absolutely.
And so there's no checking it with a rangefinder. There's
no rangefinder, no GPS,
no wind,
no kestrels, nothing like that. And a little sidebar here. The equipment we had in sniper school, and it was the same when I got to group, was Vietnam era equipment. So our sniper rifle was an M21 sniper system. It was an accurized M14, national match grade M14 with either an Art 1 or Art 2 scope on it, automatic ranging telescope. And it was built on a CAN system. So we always fired 308, 7.62 Lake City national match ammunition. And it has certain ballistics. So they had stadium line in the scope, And you increase or decrease the power until those stadia lines fit your target from about the waist to the head, and that cam had your ballistics
Factored
for
in.
that specific ammo.
Got you.
So dial it in, you're on target, pull the trigger. It worked okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was probably good out to 600 meters. I mean, right now,
Yeah.
way
Oh.
beyond.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Way beyond that.
Yeah.
But the mission was a little bit different
Mm-hmm.
back then also. As a sniper, you were trained for specific targets. You just didn't go out and shoot everybody you could shoot.
Got you.
You target leadership, common people, key individuals.
Got you.
A lot of the sniper missions you see now, and some you don't hear about that go on right now.
That's fine.
The best ones, yeah. But a lot of it is like Overwatch security. As a matter of fact, my best friend on my first team, ODA 151, his son eventually, I knew him when he was Josh. He was this tall. He eventually joined the 82nd, became a sniper, and was providing Overwatch on top of the building in Iraq. And the bad guys came up the
Oh wow.
building and killed him.
No way. That sucks. I hear that.
So the mission was a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And the mission was also very dependent upon what the unit mission was.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry for the sidebar.
No, perfect. And so then I'm assuming, right, that you guys joined. That works out that you guys get into Scuba and the new company, or maybe not.
Yeah, well, it worked out.
I mean, how does that progress? So it happens. I guess he gets what he wishes here. And,
He got what he wished, yes. We moved over into the new company, Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 1st Special Forces Group, and became ODA 165. 65 was the 5 teams were designated Scuba teams.
Gotcha.
So in the companies, it was 4-5 in Alpha Company, 5-5 in Bravo Company, 6-5 in Charlie Company. And we became 6-5.
While that sidebar of the sidebar, it leads in very nicely to the fact that y'all did things differently with the Scuba back then. The technology, the way y'all went about it, was just like the sidebar, very different to how they do it today.
Yeah. My team sergeant, Rich, said, this is when before we were in the new company. We were still 151 in Bravo Company. So, I'm going to send you, we got a pre-scuba here in a couple weeks. I'm going to send you to that. I'm a good soldier.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything, but in my head, I'm like, oh, dear God, please don't do this. And the other guy that was qualified on the team already in the scuba, Jack, he said, Rich, don't do that to him. You're going to ruin him, man. You please don't do that. And Rich would not listen. So one Friday afternoon, we're at the pool on main post with my team sergeant and the warrant officer. And the warrant officer is holding me in the water in the shallow end, teaching me the side stroke. Monday, I'm in pre-scuba.
Fun.
Pre-scuba. It is where you have to go to pre-scuba in group before you get a slot for Key West.
Okay.
Or scuba.
Yep.
That's of course scuba. Because it's brutal. And a lot of people fail. So they want to try to weed out as many in pre-scuba at group as they can before they want to send people that are very well prepared.
Gotcha.
To scuba school.
Yeah, this is not an elimination school, it's an education school.
Well, it is an elimination.
Yeah, but I just mean they want to lower those numbers.
Yes, yes. Because that's a lot of cost.
Yep.
So Monday, I'm in pre-scuba. And pre-scuba is 2 weeks. And it's basically 2 weeks where they try to drown you. And you just survive. In the morning, you do killer PT, killer exercise. I mean, scuba guys they're known in group to being physical animals.
Mm-hmm.
So killer PT, you get breakfast, and you report to the pool. and all of pre-scuba, you never breathe off air in pre-scuba.
Okay, so it's just,
You have twin 80s, big
Tank.
twin
Yep.
tanks, jammed with air. They're heavier when they're jammed. You dove.
Yep, I have.
You know the deal. You have a 16-pound weight belt, fins, mask, and buoyancy compensation.
Yep.
All right. So your day starts getting everything offloaded in the truck into the pool, and they smoke you for a little while.
Feel the lactic acid, get it going.
Yep.
Reminds you just had breakfast.
Yep. Flutter kicks,
Yep.
push-ups, lots of yelling and all that. And not just flutter kicks, but flutter kicks with like your mask filled with water and your fins on. Anyway, they smoke the shit out of you. Then they tell you to get your gear on. You put on the twin 80, 16-pound weight belt, fins and mask, air turned off, regulator stowed in your BC, and they split you in half. Half the people, like here's the long side of the pool, they'll split half on one side and half on the other in the deep end. And mask on, and they tell you to enter the water. Prepare to enter the water, enter the water. And you step off into the water, and you're wearing 100 and whatever pounds of gear.
Yep.
Just you go. You got to pin yourself to the top, get back on the gunnel on the side of the pool, and you're facing the deep end. And they're screaming and yelling at you to pack it down, pack it down. You get chest to tank real tight, and the pool NCOIC, non-commissioned officer in charge. When I blow the whistle, you will go subsurface and you will fin to the other side.
Yep.
This side goes shallow, this side goes deep, so you don't run into each other.
Got you.
You cannot come up
Yep.
until you get to the other side and get to the gunnel, pack it down same way.
When you say pack it down,
Like the first guy near the deep side of the pool, he's up against the end of the pool.
Yep.
The other guy,
So you-
like you tighten it up.
got you.
Like sardines in a can, man. And and these are called crossover. They are brutal. For me, they're brutal.
Yep.
If you're a big, strong guy and you've got a really good fin stroke, they're not so bad. Because this is a breath holding. You're exerting a lot of energy and you're surviving this off breath holding. So
the tanks aren't on. You're not breathing underwater.
You're not breathing.
Oh,
No,
okay.
this is breath holding.
It's just weight. That's dead weight.
Dead weight. So pack it down, prepare to cross over, and they'll blow that whistle.
Yeah.
You go subsurface, push off a wall, fin your way over to the other side. You come up, they're screaming and yelling at you. Pack it down, you get 10 seconds, and they're blowing it again. So you're back the other way.
Yeah.
10 seconds, do it again. Do it again. And after about, 4 or 5 of these, your lungs are absolutely screaming for air. Tremendous physical exertion.
Yep.
And like I said, after 4 or 5 of these, you are absolutely convinced you can't do another one. They're going to blow that whistle, and you're going to
You're
go.
going to find out.
Yes. And they generally do, back then anyway, they generally did like 8 to 10.
Okay.
My first day of crossovers in my first pre-scuba with tanks, the whole 9 yards, I didn't make it.
Oh, okay.
They'll pull you, if you don't make it, they'll pull you out of the water. Kickstart you if they need to, tell you to get back in the pool, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. So I come back to group with my head hung low,
Yep.
and I'm thinking, I will never, ever do this again.
Y'all are going to that company.
Yeah,
I ain't doing
you
it.
go be the scuba team.
Yeah.
I'll be a regular airborne.
Yeah.
So I come back to the battalion. Battalion Sergeant Major Sky, but I had to go see him first.
Mhm.
Explained to him that I didn't make it, and he said, "You're going to do this again, right?" "Yes, Sergeant Major." Totally lying. I'm lying.
Yeah.
Go back to my team after that. You know, hey, Rich, didn't make it. Crossovers, day one, the tanks got me.
Yeah.
Tanks and weight belt got me. All right, we'll work on it. You know, I said, Rich, I'm never again. Never going to do that again. Oh, we'll talk. We'll talk. You know, I'm thinking, there's no way he can talk me into ever doing this again. Had some deployments, and about 6 months later, we're in the team room one afternoon. He's like, Mike, just go outside. I want to talk to you. I knew what was coming. He pulls me outside and said, look, I want you to try pre-scuba again. Rich, I told you, I'm never, ever doing that again. I am not made for that. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Rich was one of those guys, he would talk you into submission. Like, I'll do, you know, eventually you would reach a point like, Rich, I'll do whatever you want, just stop talking.
Yeah.
So he said, look, we will work on this. A lot of it's technique. We will work on this. We got command language program coming up. It's 3 months. In the afternoons, after CLP, after language training, we'll go to the pool, we'll work with it. Like, my answer was, okay for that.
Yeah.
But no guarantees.
Yeah.
I'm going back to preschool. He's like, oh, okay. He had no Rich. So we went to CLP, and every afternoon we're in the pool. And we're doing weight belt swims, all the hard stuff in preschool. Weight belt swims, which is basically swimming around in the pool with a 16-pound weight belt. And after a few laps, it gets difficult.
Yep.
The crossovers, a weight retrieval where you had to dive into the pool, nothing on, and grab this big, I can't remember how heavy it was, 20 pounds, I don't recall, and bring it up to the surface, show the instructor, take it back down, and set it back down easily on the pool. You also had underwater knot tying. All this is breath holding. Had to go subsurface, tie 3 different knots on a rope corral, get the test and okay from the instructor, and then come back up. You had to be able to swim the length of the pool underwater without coming up 25 meters. And then there was bobbing.
Okay.
Bobbing, same equipment as crossovers, weight belt, tanks, mast, BC, fins. And instructor on the deep end, you're in the shallow end, and he would say, bob the deep end. So you shuffle along the bottom till you go subsurface, come up until you get into the deepest part of the pool. And at one point when you come up, you'd say, remove your fins. So you go back down. Again, this is breath holding. Take your fins off, put them on your hands, and you had to have the right technique to push off the bottom, come up, get a breath, go back down. So you're breaking the surface, well, me anyway. I'm not the strongest guy in the world. I'm breaking the surface just enough to get a breath, and then back down. And you had to bob for 2 minutes, I think.
Wow.
I don't recall.
Just lactic acid building up and burning the whole time.
Yes. So for 2 minutes, you squat, shove off hard, get a breath, go back down, hold on the bottom as long as you could, and need a breath, shove off, same thing, 10 for 2 minutes. And then there was also treading water. You had to tread water for 2 minutes, no equipment on, but your hands had to be up out of the water. So you got this little egg beater kick that you had to do. A lot of technique, all of these are a lot of technique, especially for a small guy like me. So we worked on it for 6 months. And he was honest to his word. 6 months we worked on it. And then he talked me into going back to a pre-scuba.
That's just for pre-scuba. You haven't even got to scuba school yet.
No.
And so you're a solid 6 to 8 months of time vested.
Absolutely. Also, the pre-scubas were different. My first one was ran by a team their primary goal was to be brutal and weed out as many people as they could.
Mm-hmm.
So out of, I don't know, 30 of us, there were 3 people that passed that pre-scuba. Those 3 went to Key West for scuba school. Only one of those made it. So out of 30, 35, whatever people, one guy got their scuba bubble. The second pre-scuba I went to, after the preparation of my team sergeant, was more of an instructive type pre-scuba.
Yeah.
That team sergeant, the team that led that pre-scuba, he had been an instructor at Key West.
Got you.
And he said, my goal in these next 2 weeks is to teach you and prepare you to pass the test at the end of this pre-scuba, go down to scuba school and be successful.
Yeah.
And he did that. He was great.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Harrell, Master Sergeant Jim Harrell, he was great. And he was very successful. A lot of us passed that pre-scuba that he ran. And most of us that went to Key West to Special Forces Scuba School after that pre-scuba passed and got our bubbles.
Okay. So you go to scuba down in Key West, and that's, how long of a school is that? How long do you spend?
That was, if I remember correctly, that was a month.
A month, okay.
The first week was much like scuba school, or pre-scuba. Also, something I forgot to tell you about in pre-scuba, and same first week of scuba school, is you did a surface swim.
Okay.
So you take you out in boats, drop you like 3 kilometers off, and you had to fin your way, you and your buddy, fin your way to shore. And these were timed.
Mm-hmm.
And they paired you up in accordance with how good of a surface swimmer you were.
Mm-hmm.
I was not good at that either. I was one of the last.
Yeah.
My buddy and I were one of the last ones. Same thing with my buddy at Scuba School. We were one of the last ones. But we could make the time.
Mm-hmm.
The first week of Scuba School was much like pre-scuba, surface swims, torture, and torture is not a good word, but not the right word, in the pool.
Yeah.
Crossovers, bobbing.
Yeah.
Okay. You get past your first week. Oh, let me tell you about the first day of crossovers in Key West. And same thing kind of happened in Scuba School too. The Key West was worse.
Mm-hmm.
So first day of crossovers, the tanks and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Get in the pool, pack it down, prepare to cross over, they blow the whistle. And that very first crossover, got across the pool, came up on the other side, looked out into the water, and it was madness. There were lots of people that were not prepared. Lots of people from different parts of the Army, Air Force.
Okay, so this isn't just exclusively Special Forces guys.
There were other people that could get slots.
Got you.
It was rare, but there were those people. National Guard, SF, Reserve SF at the time.
Yeah.
They were not prepared.
Mm.
So I completed that first crossover, got to the wall, looked back over across the water, and there were people floating on top of the water. There were people screaming, "Help! Help! Mama!" And madness, just madness. And they clear those people out of the way. The instructors had what they call sharks in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the middle of a crossover and you think you can't make it and you try to surface, the sharks will jump on you and just shove you back.
No way.
Shove you straight back down.
That was not what I thought you were about to say. I was like, save you. No.
No. They were shoving you straight back down until you could get up out of the water enough to say, "I quit." And then they're dragging you out of the way.
Wow. They really made you want to quit, like make work for it.
They made you work to be able to say, "I quit."
That's fucking awesome. Not really.
So, so madness.
Yeah.
Chaos. They pull all these people out of the way. The next crossover. And on about the fourth one, I come up out of the water, get on the gunnel, and I saw my buddy on my team that I come down there with.
Yeah.
He had an ankle injury, so he had trouble with the crossovers. He is on the deep end of the pool, clinging to the gunnel. And for the 10 seconds I had before the next crossover, all I could see are the instructors grabbing him and shoving him under. Grabbing him, shoving him under. And he finally got enough air to say, I can't. Gotta quit. So did 8 crossovers that day, bobbing, everything else. Passed the first week. The second week, focused on open circuit dives, horizontal dives.
Okay.
And you were judged on time and accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
They put you in the boats. The course down there, you have these really nice Boston whalers. Put you in the boats, take you out, drop you off in the water. You and your buddy, your dive buddy.
Yeah.
You got a tack board. On your tack board, you got a depth gauge and a Ritchie ball compass.
Okay.
And there was this billboard on the shore, a dive flag.
Yeah.
Get an azimuth to that dive flag. You go subsurface, and you're on the clock. You started at 1,500 meters, and I think we went out by the end of that week to dives at 3,000 meters, 3K. And so you're diving, probably a depth of only 15, 20 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and got your eye, the one that's being tested, the buddy that's being tested, you got your eye on the compass and depth gauge. You're trying to be consistent. And it's funny, during the day dives, you're diving along, you got your azimuth, and you see a team do this, and a team do this in front of you, and you're thinking, are they right?
Or
am I right? So
trust yourself at that point.
Yeah, and all you can do is trust your azimuth, trust your ability, and keep your pace. And when you come out of the water, the instructor's right there, and there's markings off the dive flag, 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters. And I was lucky, I guess, because when I was tested, I was horrible at crossovers, but I was really good at accuracy and time.
I was about to say, how much do you think the land nav time and effort you put into that really paid off? Because like you said, a lot of guys are coming into scuba school not having done, or not a lot of guys, some of the guys, and so you guys are going to have an advantage in the sense that surely the land nav translates, right? Because you know that you know your shit in the sense of an azimuth and other.
Yeah. It trusts you to keep it. It teaches you how to keep an azimuth.
Mm.
But really, underwater, it's dead reckoning. There, anyway. There are some advanced dives that we don't do there that you can use to train a little bit. But there, it was dead reckoning.
Mm.
And I came out of open circuit week with a 100% average.
Nice.
I was within 10 meters, and within the right time every time. The third week was closed circuit dives. Same thing, day and night you're tested.
Yep.
Starting at 1,500 meter dives out to 3,000 meter dives. And we dove, for a closed circuit week, we dove Dreger LAR 5s. It's a rebreather that mounts on the front.
Okay.
And it's got a little oxygen bottle, and it recirculates the air that you breathe. It's one-way valves. Oxygen in, O2 out. There's a canister inside that scrubs the CO2 out, and so you're getting good, clean O2.
Mm-hmm.
It's O2. You can't dive it past 1 atmosphere. You can make excursions for a short amount of time, but it's a horizontal dive. It's an infiltration diving device. I'm sorry, I came out of open circuit week with a 98% average. Closed circuit week, you were tested on accuracy and time, and it just so happened my weak ass little stroke was perfect for the closed circuit system. And I came out of a closed circuit week with 100% average day. Then fourth week, you did specialty type dive like harbor infiltration, searching the bottoms of ships for mines, stuff like that.
How was your first, just like Scuba 2, night dive? How was your first open water night dive where you were like, how did you like that? Because I'll tell you what, that's terrifying.
Well, you can't see much, can't use the light.
Yeah.
But again, you're so focused on your depth gauge and your azimuth that you pay attention to very little else. The one thing that would get me, like off the point in Key West, that's not a deep area. It varies between 20 feet 30, 40 feet, you know. So sometimes if you're keeping a 20-foot depth at night, you can't see and you run into a big sponge and it's warm and soft. And you're like, what's that? And eventually you learn, oh, it's a sponge.
Yeah.
So the night dive, if I can't see it, it can't hurt me.
Until I'm swallowed.
The first day dive,
Yeah.
An open circuit week, I got to the shore and here's this school of barracuda.
Oh.
And so I'm hanging out, watching these guys, and they're not moving out of the way. And I'm like, come on, guys, I'm on the clock here. I got to come out of the water. But I learned that barracuda are really not.
Unless you got something shiny.
Yeah, they're not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, night dive really didn't bother me that much.
Gotcha.
Now, later on, sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Later on, when we became a scuba team, once a year you have to do re-qualification. So a couple of years we did that in Key West. And we were doing a night infiltration dive, and I had my uniform on BDUs in the dredger, and I did not have my top button on my BDUs, and a jellyfish got down my uniform, and that hurt. That hurt. So I learned the hard way to button the top button.
Yeah.
When you do a dive.
So you're in BDUs underwater like that.
Yeah.
Wow. So just
because when you come out of the water, that's just the infiltration.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
You've got a mission to do once you come out of the water.
Yeah. So if it's cold climate, how does that affect how you're?
Greatly. The team I was on, the battalion I was in when I first got out to first group was a cold weather battalion. We dove dry suits. We had really nice Viking dry suits. Viking, like top to line, dry suits. So you could wear almost whatever you wanted under that to stay dry. It was funny, sidebar. One of my buddies came from the Ranger Bat. He also was in the Ranger in Grenada. He assaulted with the Ranger Battalion. He first got to the team, got scuba qualified. He was on the first dive with us. It was a closed circuit dive in the Puget Sound. The Puget Sound is 48 degrees year round. So he's a great big guy. They didn't have a dry suit that would fit him available at the time. They had to order one, a Viking anyway. So they gave him this different brand. I think it's a DUI. So he was my dive buddy on this first dive. And we come out of the water. He's a big red-headed guy, freckle face. We come out of the water at the shore, and he looks at me, and his face is purple, and he's got uncontrolled chattering of the teeth. And he said, "Is it supposed to be this cold?"
Oh,
like,
no.
No, Dave, it's not. So he had a leaky dry suit and powered through it, Puget Sound, 48 degrees until we finished. We got out of the water. And it was an admin dive. We weren't doing a mission after that. He emptied his dry suit, and he had like a gallon and a half of dry suit. Bless his heart, he powered through. But I just remember that purple face. Like, is it supposed to be this cold?
That sucks.
So yeah, we dove some in some cold water. Korea, Alaska.
That's still good.
Yeah, I wish I had a picture. We were entering the water for a dive one day on American Lake on Fort Lewis. And it's snowing like hell. These big, giant flakes. And here we are going into the water. Wish I had a picture
one of those moments.
One of those moments.
Facts. So I will bring up a story you told here. One of the first stories I need you to tell me is like, what was the process of getting in and out of the sub back in the day? I have to ask, because y'all say it obviously changed, so it's okay to talk about. But that sounded traumatic. I've nitrox drove, I've done, but that sounded traumatic.
So sub op.
Yeah.
Same team sergeant. Team sergeant. No, it was a different team sergeant actually. we had an opportunity to send 2 people down to Coronado to do a sub-op with SEAL Team 5. And my team sergeant decided to send the captain, our team leader, Captain Durchie, great guy, I love him to death, still keep up with him. And me. I really don't want to do this. But I didn't have the balls to tell the team sergeant no. All right, I'll go do it. So I go down, link up with SEALs, and it appeared that they don't do this much eating. Maybe some of their old hands have done it before. And we did this on one of the last old diesel subs, the USS Bluebacks.
Okay.
So you load all your gear onto the sub. There's no place for you to sleep on the sub because all those are taken. So we end up, I think I slept on top of a freaking torpedo tonight because it was the only place to grab some sleep. So you're running ops day and night because even SEALs, I don't think, get an opportunity to do this very often. So the process. You're in the torpedo room, the front of the sub. Top front part of the sub is this round metal sphere. It's the escape hatch. If something goes wrong in the sub, this is how they plan on getting everybody out into a rescue vehicle to get them up. Well, that's where you lock out and lock in on a sub-op. So in the movies, you come out of a sub with your dive gear on, you know, and all that. No, this is breath holding. So you put one guy in the sub, and that's a dive supervisor. We have dive supervisors. It's kind of like jump masters on the dive team, and the SEALs have dive supervisors, dive suits. So there's a dive suit inside the escape trunk that operates the trunk. It's not that big. And so you put like 4 or 5 guys in there with him that's going to lock out to the surface. And you're running, the sub is running anywhere from probably 30 to 50 feet. And the sub don't control their depth like you, well, these old diesels anyway, like you think they would. So they will take an excursion every now and then. Not on purpose. It just happens. So anyway, you cram 4 or 5 people in this escape trunk, and there are 2 hatches. The one you come in through from the torpedo room, and the one that goes to the outside of the sub. So you put these guys in the trunk, and you dog the lower hatch shut. And then they start flooding this trunk with water. Now you're all crammed in there, and you're like face to face, very small.
Gear in the middle?
Space, gear in the middle. And they flood this trunk up to about chin level. So you're face to face, crammed in there. Your head's up against the top of the trunk, and it floods up to your chin. And then they undog the upper hatch that goes to the outside. Now the pressure on the sub when they're running at depth keeps it closed. So now you start pressurizing the trunk. And whenever the pressure of the trunk equalizes with the pressure of the sea, whatever depth you're at, then that outside hatch cracks open.
That last bit of water kind of pushes it, that last bit of air pushes it out.
So you still got that breathing room.
Until it pressurizes.
And you keep that. And so they'll open the outside hatch, and they will say, and I call it a tunnel, but it's only about this long. So you're flooded. The entrance to the outside hatch is below the water line that you're breathing above. Only about that far. And then through the little tunnel, out the hatch, and up to the surface. So the dive suit will say, swimmer number 1, prepare to lock out, lock out. So you take a breath, you go under the water that the trunk is flooded with, out the escape hatch, and then up to the surface. And you have to remember you're breathing. The air in the trunk is air under pressure. So,
Gotta
like
breathe
any
out.
dive, you have to exhale as you go up.
Otherwise, your lungs explode.
Now, before you go up, outside divers, will rig an ascent descent line. So there's a line attached to the sub just outside the escape hatch that goes to the surface in this orange ball that floats on the surface. So when you lock out of the trunk, you grab that line and you follow it up to the orange ball floating on the surface. That way everybody's coming up at the same time in the same place, and you're all gathered. So locking out, not such a big deal. Then you're locking out all your equipment. However, you plan to get to the shore.
I was about to say, yeah, you got a rib, like it's going to be an inflatable rib somehow to get out with you, or like
You can lock out Zodiac,
it's like Zodiac, yeah, exactly.
motors,
Yeah.
fuel bladders, all your equipment,
Yeah.
Everything. Inflate on the surface, get in your boats, go off to your mission.
How does it get? So how does that? You got your tanks and your gear, but if someone's going to send a Zodiac,
No tanks.
no tanks. So,
No tanks. This is all free divers. This is all
free
breath
divers.
holding.
Oh, okay. So all the gear is just your actual.
The only time you would lock out tanks was if you're doing a dive inflow. You could do that.
Yeah.
But that was not
So
what we
the
were
gear
doing.
you have there could be that Zodiac, could be your weapons. It's
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So go off, you do your mission, you come back. However, if you dive back or Zodiac's back, whatever, and you have kind of a link-up point back out in the water with the sub. And what they would do is they have these two little metal sticks, and they bang them together, and the sub locates your specific location by that sound with their sonar. And suddenly that orange ball pops up out of the water, and you all get on that ball again. You know that line takes you back to the sub. Not sure how deep it is.
Yeah.
And the dive suit will say again, swimmer number 1, prepare to lock in.
Yep.
Lock in. I believe that's terminology. So one at a time, you're like, big breath, down you go. Now you have to clear your ears as you go down. Now, I will say I was not very good at this. So you go down the line, and you do this in the middle of the night.
Yep.
As you approach the sub, that you've seen the fluorescent glow of things in the sea.
Yeah,
The
bioluminescence.
the sub glows like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just moving through, just kind of illuminating all around.
It is.
Yep.
Yep. So anyway, you're on a single breath hold. You're going down. You got to clear your ears. Get to the sub. Find the hatch. Go into the hatch. Into the escape trunk. Still, it's flooded with water again. You come back up out of the water, and by this time, your lungs are screaming for air.
Screaming on that.
Yep. So lockout, not
You
that
ain't got
difficult.
time to go back. If you reach a point of like you're already trying to get
You
into
can't go.
there's no back. There's no back.
You're committed.
Yeah.
And you're kind of committed anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's your ride out.
Yeah.
Did that. I was not very good at it. Didn't like it.
Surprised.
Yeah. So I get into this thing, non-swimmer.
Yeah.
End up on a scuba team.
Yeah.
And end up being sent down to do sub-ops. Like.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it was an experience. One I'll never forget. Don't want to do it again.
I mean, and ultimately, it was the first thing. It sounds like you really failed / didn't want to do again, but then just through the people around you and the experience and journey, you were forced to overcome it and master it. Even if you would, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was not good at pre-scuba, but I turned out to be a good diver, a good info diver. Not very good at sub-ops, but I was forced to do it. And SF is like that. They will put you often in situations where you're not comfortable. They will put you often, even peacetime, they'll put you in a situation where you think, if I do this, I take one more step forward, I'm going to die. But you would rather die with a coach, an old son Taylor. I'd rather die than for my friends to think I'm chicken shit.
Nothing wrong with that. Facts. Facts. So I have to, because since we're talking scuba, before we move on, so there was a story you told when I first met you about a guy who did the crossovers, I think it was, right? But he had his tanks messed with. Well, not messed with, but they were broken.
Yeah.
And this is when you were an instructor, or
no? This was in the pre-scuba that I passed.
Okay.
And this was a support kid, E5 sergeant, and I don't even know what he did.
Yeah.
He came out of the motor pool, but he was a support MOS.
Mm-hmm.
Not an SF guy, but it was attached to an SF unit to support. E5, he knew he was not going. He was 99% sure if he passed pre-scuba was not going to get a slot.
Gotcha.
But he went anyway. The dude was a good guy. One day in crossovers, he was having a hard time, which was odd because he was always the first guy across in crossovers. And one day, even weak finners like me, I would get across and I would look over and he's only halfway across. Wow. He had a hard time. But he would make it.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay, he's just having a bad day. Well, at the end of the day, he made it, didn't quit that day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're loading gear up on the truck. Someone went over to pick up his tanks, and my God, no wonder he was having trouble. His tanks were leaking, and they were filled with water. So a jammed set of twin 80s is 116 pounds, I forget.
Yeah.
Twin 80s filled with water, incredible. And that he made crossovers that day was one of the most amazing feats I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And like I said, completed it. He completed the pre-scuba and never got a slot for Key West because his MOS did not call for being sent to scuba.
Yeah.
So animals, absolute animals.
So
I would have them on my team.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, when you told us, what? You know, and all of them holding his breath the entire time. They said, wow.
Yep.
So you I'm glad we covered the scuba. And so how do you get introduced to SERE and doing that and moving on? Well, I guess maybe a better way to ask it is how do you transition from maybe on the teams to the instructor / teaching life? How does that transition take place for you?
Usually everyone gets it. You know, you got your team time and everyone cherishes their team time. That's where you want to be. That's what you're there for. But sooner or later, most people get hit with instructor time also. So you have to PCS, permanent change of station, transfer to the Special Warfare Center and School and be an instructor in one of the courses.
Okay.
And that's usually 3 or 4 years also.
Gotcha.
So I came down on orders for, we call it SWIC, Special Warfare Center. My team leader that I did the sub-op with had already been transferred to SWIC.
Okay.
He was the officer in charge of SERE. He found out I came down on orders for SWIC. So he gave me a call and said, look, Mike, come work for me. It's Captain Durkee again. Hey, Mike, come work for me. I'm OIC at SERE. I've never been to SERE. He said, that's okay. We'll get you through. We'll, get a slot for you for the course. Okay, I'll do that. He said, I'll let you work whatever part of the course you want. And you live in Southern Pines if you want, and which is very nice.
It's very desirable.
And work for me out at SERE. Okay, well, I'll do that. So I volunteered to do that, having to volunteer to go through the SERE.
So how old would you have been? This would be in the mid-90s, early 90s?
92.
92. So you would have been 30.
I would have been into my 30s.
Yeah.
But
and so you typically, like I said, at this point, is SERE still not part of the Q course?
No.
So at this point, what's the average age, would you say, of the guys that are going for this, like going through it?
Well,
are they kind of your age, or you're a little
mostly
later?
SF guys around the same age.
Oh, okay, so you're around the same age as most of the guys going through this.
Yeah, and we calculated the average age of our team once, and it was well into the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So SF generally older, more mature, well-seasoned guy.
Yeah. And so obviously SERE is kind of a subject because obviously it's some of the stuff you can't really discuss about what goes on in there. But, you know, in comparison to what you know today, where you have to do it in the Q course versus back then, was it a different animal or very much still kind of in the same lane? It's just now it's been rolled into that.
It's just been rolled into that.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, while I was there,
Yeah.
it got transitioned into.
Gotcha. Okay, so you were part of that. So you surely you saw the guys who were coming, I would imagine, were really about it.
Yeah.
Until then it gets transitioned to now you're forced to go.
Yes.
So did you
Not
see?
forced,
No,
it's
well,
you
not forced. Yeah,
volunteer
yeah,
directly.
yeah, exactly. It's part of the program now, right?
Yeah.
And you got to get
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
Versus before, it wouldn't have mattered if you didn't get through it because you just wouldn't pass at school. Whereas
Right.
while you're there now, you don't get to go green beret.
Right.
So did you see that transition? Like did that, like not the quality so far as the volume / intensity of fail rate, I guess. Right? Like how much did the fail rate drop off versus, because if you've got guys who are already SF, they're already doing deployments, and then they get to do it, and then all of a sudden you have guys who have never done a deployment, never even been on a team yet,
Yeah.
and now they're there. Did you? And then while you were instructed, did you see that transition of fail rate, or like the quality of guy coming through, or what? How did that look to you?
No. SERE is a whole different animal.
Gotcha.
It is one of those courses where the failure rate is very, very low because the instructors will do everything they can to get a person through.
Gotcha. So it's far more.
The goal is to get you through.
Gotcha.
The goal is to talk you out of quitting. So the failure rate was very low, and something we're very proud of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, SF guy quitting, very, very rare. Very rare.
Mm-hmm.
Did happen, but very rare.
So SERE, especially prior to the rolling into the Q course, it was predominantly SF guys, or like you say, were the other guys you could get a ticket over there if you needed, or how did that work?
Well, most of the people, like when it was voluntary,
Yep.
mostly SF. Also, special operations, helicopter crews.
Okay, so it was really role job specific if you were to end up at SERE.
Yeah, SERE level C, high risk. That means your job puts you at a high risk of being captured,
Gotcha.
missing or captured,
Mm-hmm.
isolated or captured.
Understood.
And early on, there were some other MOSs that could get slots there. Generally, if you saw someone quit, it was another MOS. Very rare for an SF guy, but like I said, it did happen. When we transitioned to all SF, very rare to see anyone quit.
Gotcha. Understood. So at this point in your career, what rank are you at this point?
When I first started there, I was a staff sergeant, and before I left there, I got promoted to E7, Sergeant First Class.
Okay.
And on my way out of there, I got several schools while I was there.
Okay.
I've been to 3 different interrogation courses. I've been to an interrogation course out of Arizona. I went to the Federal Law Enforcement Advanced Interviewing and Interrogation course at Glencoe, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So trained by the Fed.
Yeah.
And I went to an interrogation course, the Reed technique of interview and interrogation, their basic and advanced course out of Chicago.
So
I went to that.
I'm going to assume that the part of the course you were instructed on was the interrogation part, and
It related to interrogation.
Oh, got you.
Not interrogation.
That was more, but that was your
related to it.
specialty. Because you said you got to pick the part of the course that you would focus on.
Right.
How much self-deterministic did you explore when you went through it? Did you say, "Oh, this is for me"? Like, how natural was that for you to be like, "Ah, this is the part I want"?
Very unusual. It is a very, very unusual technique of instruction, and you have to learn to be a different person.
Mm.
You have to assume several different roles depending on your approach with the student,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them were, "Hey, I'm your friend," but I'm really not.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of them were having to learn to be very good.
Got you. Yeah. It's part of it.
And it's part of it, and it's very difficult to learn to do that
Yeah, because
to your.
green on green, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But once you learn it, and you get good at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting.
And so, question: did you have to go to a separate course to be an instructor at SERE? Or
When you get to SWIC, you have to go to an instructor course to be an instructor anyway.
period?
Like one of the first things you have to do is go through IT. Well, back then it was called ITC, Instructor Training Course. It was 2 weeks. Learn to be a platform instructor. Perfection, and also to write instruction.
Gotcha. So from there, did you finish your military career at SERE, or did you move on and teach other places, or how did the?
No. So when I was an instructor there, E6 and E7, several of those, the 3 interrogation courses. I went through a really good CQB course.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. I mean, one that really, really hones your combat skill. And then on my way out of there, several courses, several exercises, evasion exercise up in West Virginia.
Yep.
And on my way out of there, I got a course called Operations and Intelligence.
Okay.
And it's a senior course for senior SF guys to go to the team and you're like second in charge under the team sergeant. And you specialize, you're the intel guy. I think it's different now,
Mm-hmm.
but only senior E7s back then were trained in operations intelligence and were filled that intelligence sergeant role.
Gotcha.
And I got that way on my way out of SERE back to group.
Okay. And then right back to the first group.
Right back to first group.
Yeah. And so then you another 4 years there, or how does that?
So I did about 5 years in group my first time, then to SERE for 4 years, back to group 4 years.
So
there.
at this point, you're looking at 15, 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I came out of my second time on the teams, 18 years in. When I got back from SWIC, back to group
Mm-hmm.
from SERE, I was assigned to a team in B Company. We were doing, back then, some counter-drug
Mm-hmm.
operations. We were in the Caribbean watching smuggling lanes
Mm-hmm.
out at sea.
Gotcha.
When I learned that I had made the E8 list, the master sergeant, and to become a team sergeant. So I only spent about 6 months on that team
Mm-hmm. And then
as the intel guy.
gotcha.
But those counter-drug missions did me really good. Some good experience as the intel sergeant.
Awesome.
Then when I made the E8 list, they moved me back to charge, up to a different team.
Okay.
They don't want you to take over the team that you're on.
Yeah.
The team sergeant.
It's a different dynamic, I imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, so when they assigned me as a team sergeant, I had scuba team experience, airborne infiltration experience, CQB experience and qualifications. I'd gone to Halo school when I was at SERE.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I was Halo qualified. I was qualified in everything except mountains, and that's what they assigned me as a team sergeant.
And I'll also point out, at this point now, because we're getting further on, and you saw Grenada at the beginning of your career.
Yes.
I imagine, you were getting to the point where having actually seen real combat, because there was a period, obviously, in the Gulf War, where it was kind of rare.
It was rare.
Right? Like, it was getting to be rare, because obviously we haven't haven't had them yet.
Yes.
So we're in that limbo to where, so how unique was that, did you find, in relation to, other guys around you at that time?
I mean, we still did good missions.
Yeah. Well, special forces, right?
Yeah.
But
we would still deploy to different places and work with Indige there, mostly other armies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always interesting. When you're doing that, you're building relationships. And relationships can be very important later on down the road.
For sure. I hear that. So,
if a balloon goes up
Yep.
in this country, you have relationships established,
Mm-hmm.
and it leads to bigger and better things.
For sure.
So, I've had
So mounted, where does that take you?
Nepal. We did what they call a JCET, Joint Combined Exchange Training in Nepal. So I spent about 30 days in Kathmandu, in and around Kathmandu. We were training about a platoon-sized element in the Nepalese Army on M16A2s.
Okay.
They do a lot of peacekeeping missions. They're a very poor army. They get a lot of their money for peacekeeping missions. They were shooting old FNFALs at the time, just got M16A2s, and they needed a cadre of trainers built and trained so they could then go out to the rest of the Nepalese army and train them on the M16A2s. So spent a month doing that. Got some time to take a hike up into the foothills of the Himalayas.
Mm-hmm.
Went up into the upper Mustang region, or the Himalayas. Just really, they pay me to do this.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I
mean, that's good if you're nearly 20 years in and you're still saying that to yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Good choice.
On the other hand, the first training exercise we did when I became team sergeant for the mountain team was up on Mount Baker, one of the Three Sisters on the Pacific Northwest. And we were taking snowmobiles up to about 8,000 or 9,000, dig in a base camp, and train on our climbs the rest of the way up. We planned on getting 3, 4, 5 summits in a week or 10 days time. So we got up to the base camp, dug in our base camp. So you dig a big hole to put your tent down in to keep the snow blow, wind and snow blow off. 2-man tents. And got a little training in late that afternoon, and snow started. It was odd because we stopped at the ranger station at the bottom on the way in. Got to sign in, sign out, let them know who you are, where you're going, how many people you got, when you plan on coming back, so on and so forth. And guys at the ranger station said, "Man, you couldn't have picked a better time. You got perfect weather." The mountain can create its own weather.
Oh, yeah.
So that first evening, it started snowing. I mean, snow like I had never seen. Got up the next morning, and I rely, leadership in special forces, if you're smart, you rely on your experts. That's why you have weapons guys, combo guys, medics, and engineers. Also within that group, you have people that are specialty trained, gone to really good schools and have really good experiences. I had 2 guys that were very experienced in mountain operations. My primary was my weapons sergeant, guy named Randy. Great, absolutely great, very skilled, smart guy. So got up that morning, it's still snowing like nuts. Yeah. And like, hey Randy, what about training? And he said, I recommend we hold. He said, we'll see what the weather does. Okay, fine. So the snow was so bad, like every 2 hours, you and your tent partner had to get out and dig your tent out of the snow. Mm-hmm. And it was so bad we wore headlamps. Mm-hmm. And you could look at your tent buddy across the tent in the snow and barely see his headlamp glow. So again, that first morning, Randy says, need to hold on training. Let's see what the weather's going to do. Okay, fine. So we held. Same thing. It continues every 2 hours, digging your tent out. Next day, Randy said, okay, let's hold on training again. So, well, Randy, how bad is this? It's not the worst I've ever seen. Okay, fine. We'll hold. The next day, it's still happening. And Randy says, okay, hold on training, survival mode. Tie's the worst I've ever seen. Right. The next day, still going on. Yeah. Randy says, okay, we're definitely in survival mode, and this is the worst I've ever seen. And I can't remember how much it snowed. It was like feet upon feet upon feet. I've got pictures, I mean, way over your head.
Yeah.
This amount of snow.
But you've got snowmobiles, you've got, I mean, there's no way of getting out.
Oh, they're buried.
Yeah, buried. Go on.
Oh, yeah. One of them broke down.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So we got no training in
it. Communications back or what? Like
no commo.
Wow.
We're strictly in survival. We're surviving. We're trying not to die.
Yeah.
So when it finally stopped, we're totally exhausted by this time.
Still, how long were you prepared to be out there for originally?
I forget. It was like a week or 10 days.
Oh, okay, so you had food, you had supplies.
We had food. Yeah, we had supplies. As long as we could keep the snow dug off our tents, we were okay.
And surely, like that much snow, it's building up around, like even around your tent, it's still building up around.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like falling in that, and you have to like, it's not as simple as. It's like tapering.
Yeah. Mount Baker that year set a record, like a record for the amount of snow they got, and we saw most of it those few days. So when it finally quit, our mission was to get off the mountain. Mm-hmm. One of the snowmobiles had broken, carburetor issue or something. And on the way up, we had these little green pickets, like bamboo pickets, mm-hmm. and we would set one in the snow every so far. That way you could find your way back down the mountain. Those were gone. Right. They were by far buried at this time. So the entire landscape had changed. Nothing looked like it did.
Everything's soft.
The mountain. Everything. Well, no, not necessarily. It was soft enough that you could stay on the surface with the right gear. Skis, snowmobiles. We packed up everything we could, had to leave a snowmobile up there. Matter of fact, 2 of them broke down. And we cannibalized one to get the other running. So we came off with everything except that one snowmobile. And it was still up at 9,000 feet. Had another guy that was really good on the mountain. He led us down on skis, and he picked a really good route, got us down safely, because it could have been a disaster.
Oh yeah.
We get down off the mountain, make contact with our commander, who was the company commander was Major Joe Fox at the time, Pastor.
Okay. Pastor Joe.
Yep.
some of y'all might know Pastor Joe. I've shown some of his videos. He's got a survivalist / commune.
Yep.
And what would you call it? It's not book, but self-sufficiency.
Yep.
Self-sufficiency is the right word.
Yep.
Community
Yep.
and education class. Definitely check him out if you haven't seen him.
Absolutely. So we thought he would say, "Hey, great to hear from you guys. I was worried about you. Great to hear that you're safe." No, his first question was, "Did you leave anything up there?" and Captain Golden, the team leader, great guy, West Point guy. Well, we had to leave the snowmobile and explain the situation. And Andrew Fox said, "Well, Captain, that's your career up there sitting on that." So
y'all just gone through it.
Yep. So he jumps in his vehicle and he goes back up to the mountain and sits and watches this. It's kind of like a lot where everybody parks and offloads their snowmobiles to go play, and watches this spot to make sure nobody went up and stole our snowmobile. So we then had to plan an operation to go up and get our snowmobile off.
Dig it out and that's hilarious.
And account for all of our equipment.
Oh, fun time.
So that was my mountain team experience. And it was when I left the team, they got me a plaque with one of those piton hammers mounted on it. And the quote on the plaque was of me, "Randy, when are we getting off this mountain?" So I spent about a year on the mountain team. There was a rumor that 6'5" was going to stand back up as a scuba team. And I wanted off the mountain team. I was okay with the alpine stuff, but vertical climbs, that was not my cup of tea. Terrible fear of heights. Jumping is different, totally different. I'm okay with that. I'm a jumping fool. But and vertical climbs is not me. So I volunteered. And there was rumor that 6'5" was going to stand back up as a mountain team, and also they needed a team sergeant. Okay. I'm a guy. I'm scuba qualified. Dive soup. I'm a guy. So I went and took that team. Really great experience because they were kind of a team in limbo. There's one or two old timers left on the team, and they were due for a transfer, and then a bunch of young guys. They didn't have a team sergeant, they didn't have a warrant officer. Their team leader, the captain, was new, and all the other guys were new, and they didn't do anything with this team. The company never did anything with the team. They just got to sit around waiting for direction. So I got to show up and say, "Look, guys, I'm a plank holder of 6'5". I was one of the first people on 6'5" when it was stood up. I am very excited to be here. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here. And I want us to be stars. I want us to be rock stars. So we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to train and train and train. And we're going to get good at everything. And we're going to be the best at it. I don't care if it's sweeping the fucking hallway or cleaning the fucking latrine. We're going to be absolutely the best at it. And these guys were like, yeah. So, man, that was a great experience. We became kind of I like to think anyway, kind of the go-to team, not only in the company, but the battalion.
Oh, wow.
We got some really good comments from chain of command that I still have on paper.
Oh, awesome.
So, I really enjoyed that bunch. Really enjoyed that bunch.
This would have been the late 90s?
That was late 90s.
Okay.
Went up to about 2000. My little rock stars went on to be and do great things. One of them was my medic. He used to be a Force Recon Marine.
Okay.
Super soldier. One other went on to be a pilot, a special operations pilot.
Mhm.
Man, he was my little Tasmanian devil. He was killed in Afghanistan.
Sorry to hear that.
One of the things we trained to do, and we never became a scuba team. And I was fine with that.
Okay.
I would rather be a rucksack team and be good at static line, airborne, infiltration. And we got really good at it. So look, guys, one of the things we're going to do when we jump, we're going to get out of the bird fast. We'll all turn toward each other, fly toward each other, and maintain a 50-foot separation. Fly as a team, land as a team. And our assembly point was going to be the center man. So pack your shit up fast, roll it up to the center guy. That was our primary assembly point. Of course, we had other alternate and contingency link ups in case we were separated for whatever reason. But the first time we did it, we were out of the bird. This is daylight. Out of the bird, on the ground, rolled up the center man in 6 minutes. 6 minutes is fast.
6 minutes from what sort of altitude?
Since 1250.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're very proud of that. Matter of fact, the first time we did that was when I still had the mountain team, and I trained them to do it. When I first brought it up to them, I said, Mike, you're crazy. Like, no, trust me, this is old SF. They used to do it all the time. The first time we did it, Major Fox was the company commander. He was already at the assembly point. It was a daylight admin jump. Had no mission afterwards. He saw us grouping in the air and came running out to us. Yeah, grouping in the air, sir. I haven't seen that in 100 years. I'm proud of you. Like, well, great.
Yeah.
We're becoming proud of ourselves. But anyway, back to 6'5". Just, man, those were my boys.
Yeah.
That was my dream team. When I went on to be a sergeant major, had the best intel guy on the planet, Chuck Mosier. Chuck, he was not very good with his hands. We were on the pistol range one night. We had a shitload happening. And I'm training them to how to use the pistol. And back then we had the old Beretta M9s.
Yep.
And they would easily get gummed up.
Okay.
And so if you had a malfunction, usually it's not going in the battery, just bump it and continue on. And poor Chuck, we had shot thousands of rounds by this point in the night, and he was having to clear lots of malfunctions, and his hands were just absolutely bloody. But he tried harder at everything than anybody I've ever seen. And his intel, his analysis for missions was incredible.
All right.
He had like a master's in music and had a mind, very analytical mind. We would do brief backs before missions. The company and battalion commander would show up and tell him, Sergeant Mosier, I've been looking forward to your intel brief all day long.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Incredible mind.
One of the great, just funny you say that, it's one of the greatest middleweight boxers of all time, Joe Kawasaki. His dad was a musician and like top level musician, and he quit it to train his son. And very similarly, he said it's the same. I can see the same patterns.
Yeah,
it's pattern recognition.
Yeah,
and it's just
absolutely.
So it's funny that a lot of guys who have the not savant but have an aptness for musician thing, they see the same patterns. They hear whatever that is. I don't have it. So good for them.
Yep.
Right.
I couldn't.
Yeah. Right. I see what they have.
I'm glad I had that guy. Yeah, incredible.
So this, I mean, that kind of leads us into 2000, 2001, 9/11 time period. So you're obviously at this point getting very advanced in your military career. You're 20 years plus of this.
Yeah.
So how does 9/11? How do you? What sort of?
Well, at this point, this is before 9/11.
Yeah.
2000, team sergeant time was up.
Yep.
And I hated that, man. That is the best job on the planet. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And they had to drag me out of the team room, kicking and screaming. And by this time, I was a senior E8. I was lucky enough. I'd done some things, and I made E8 early. So my team sergeant time is up, and now I'm looking at staff time.
Yeah.
I went over to the battalion S2, became the battalion intel non-commissioned officer in charge for about 6 months. I was due for a transfer. Didn't want to do staff time. Really wasn't interested in being a sergeant major. It's kind of enter the blue when that happens. So I volunteered to go back to SWIC, and I'd heard that SERE needed non-commissioned officer in charge
Gotcha.
of resistance again, where I'd already been.
Okay.
I thought, okay, I will go do that, do my last 2 years there, and then I'll retire. I never really had an intention of doing more than 20 again.
Yeah.
And like I said, never wanted to be staff, never wanted to be a sergeant major.
Yeah, that leads me into a question, because as we get to this point in your career and looking back and then knowing Major Fox, you were only a semester away from college.
Yes.
How, it sounds like you feel like you made the right decision in hindsight, but how close were you to finishing up and being an officer in the military? Like how much did that factor in nearly into your decision?
It was really never a decision for me.
Okay.
Because I knew.
All right.
My father had done 4 years in the Air Force.
Okay.
He was on me for years to go be an officer.
Oh,
But that's not what I wanted to do. The Army, basic training, they tried to get me to go to OCS.
Yeah.
I just really, that's not what I wanted.
Facts.
And hindsight, I am absolutely good with what I did. Would I make a lot more, would my retirement paycheck be a lot more? Yes. Do I care? No.
Facts. Right. It would have been a different journey.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, an officer in SF comes on board, he gets 1.5 to 2 years of team time, and that's it.
So he's off on the mill.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
SF, the team.
That's your life.
Yeah, that's your life. That's what you want. That's what you're there for. You're being on the team.
So the team sergeant he's the constant. He's
Yes.
the constant. That's why. Yeah. So he's the real heart, backbone.
Yep.
Of that.
Yep. He's like the father figure on the team, and his wife is the mother figure.
Oh,
on
really?
the team.
Okay.
Yeah. Back then, team.
I mean, I've got to ask
Really
at this
close.
point, when do you meet your wife during this process, or is this are you married? Are you single? What's the deal? We
No.
left off and you had a girlfriend and you moved across country. I'm sure at some
Right.
point.
Right. No, my first time at SERE as a SERE instructor, I met my wife.
Oh, okay.
Met her in 92, 93. We dated for a few years and got married just before I went back to group in 95.
Gotcha.
So I was 38 years old when I got married.
Yeah.
There's hope. There's always hope. But yeah, when I got at 2000, 18 years in service, back to SERE as the NCOIC, still healthy. I'd had Achilles problems. Finally went to see a really intelligent person that worked at a top level running shoe store. Fixed me.
Oh wow. Okay.
I was so glad of that. Got back to SERE. Achilles was good, and man, I was running back down in 6 minute miles. You know, happy, very happy. I loved running. Ran in college.
Yep.
Then, you know, I'm 40 years old, 41. Then it was the knee. Went to see a doc, and he said, calcification in the knee, just too many years doing what you're doing. That is not fixable.
Yeah.
Then I was sure that I was going to retire as soon as I could. Because I was not going to ever see a team again.
And so once that was over, you were just next
I
chapter.
was broken.
Yeah. Oh really?
Yeah, it was broken.
Yeah. So you had planned on getting one more team.
I'd hoped.
Yeah, I'd hoped.
The hope at that time was the chances were not good, but there was always hope.
Yeah.
But then when they told me I was had any issues that couldn't be fixed.
Jumping there's nothing to do with that. It's
I still jumped,
Yeah.
but I would hurt for days
Oh, really?
after it was tough.
So that was 2000, and you got out in
2003.
2000. Oh, so you got out in 2003.
Yeah.
So you were still instructing when 9/11
Yeah.
kicked off.
Yeah.
Did you see an immediate uptick in recruiting, or like how did 9/11 affect where you, from your perspective, what you saw?
Yes, I saw an uptick in recruiting. There were guys coming on because
They would have started the X-ray program right as you were.
there were guys coming on that wanted to get payback.
Yep.
And guys coming on for, I would say, payback / adventure.
Mm.
Like when I first became a G chief after I retired, saw guys coming on, medics,
Mhm.
18 Deltas in Sage that had graduated Johns Hopkins.
Oh, yeah. So
But first-
yeah.
I got to do this.
Gotcha.
And when they were finished with that,
Yeah.
if they lived,
So 03, you get out. You take some time, because I know you didn't go straight to G chiefing, and I know from our conversations you went a little bit into the private sector, helped some private companies do some stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so how did that journey? You just want to take some time off, or naturally, how did you connected with people to do stuff like that?
other people
Mhm.
that knew me and had gotten connected somehow
Mm-hmm.
contacted me. So did that.
Obviously, you can't talk about all the specifics.
Well, some stuff just didn't work.
Okay.
Some companies tried to get off the ground, it just didn't work.
Mhm.
Like captivity survival. We tried to build a program to try to sell to corporations that were sending people into dangerous
Mhm.
areas. That just didn't fly. Corporations just didn't really pay for that. So that never got off the ground. Then I got a call one day. Recruiting me for also a private contract for the Joint IED Defeat Organization.
Okay.
And I went on board on that.
And that is
Improvised explosive device, roadside bombs.
okay. IED. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. How to avoid that, detect it, prevent it.
Okay. For the private sector.
Well, it was a private sector, but it was a government contract.
Gotcha. Okay.
Worked on that out of Fort Belvoir. And that was a great effort. The government, those contractors, that part of the military had a huge emphasis on that.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to seek out and purchase anything they could that might work to prevent our guys from getting blown up.
Okay. So it really was just absolutely anything and everyone we can get to help in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we found something that was a 51% solution,
Mhm.
then it was worth considering and probably bringing on board. They were serious about it. That was, I was proud to be part of that.
Yeah. I know you also worked on some link analysis software, helping those guys.
No, well, that was something I brought on. Like the lane I worked, we called it the JIDO, Joint IED Defeat Organization.
Mhm.
The lane I worked on in the JIDO was kind of the intel lane. And I thought that if I could find anything like automation
Mhm.
that we learned in the counterinsurgency part of the operations and intelligence school that
Yep.
I told you about, man, that would fit this program perfectly.
Gotcha.
And I heard about some people and went to see them. And they were the folks that had built this
Yeah. Software.
program,
Yeah. Yeah.
this software for the ONI course, or now it's the Fox course at the time. and I introduced them to the people up in Virginia. They immediately liked it. It went up the chain, they approved it, and brought those people in.
That went in action.
And then they cut us away.
And then they cut you away and you didn't retire.
Contracting.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and the people, we got them like a $20 million contract. And they needed some people in a teaming agreement for part of that contract. So I went on that part.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they got their contracting solidified, it cut us away.
That's
contracting.
That's a dirty game.
And the people up in Virginia, the company I worked for there, they wanted to bring me back. But at that time, I was just tired of living on the road.
I hear that. Because you've been in Silver Pines for a long time now.
Yeah,
right,
and I was commuting.
Yeah.
And if I
so
wasn't, if I wasn't in Virginia, I was out on the road somewhere looking at stuff.
So now, forgive me if there's something that happens between people. And so, how do you end up getting tied back in to being a G Chief over here at Robert Safe? I'm sure you was that because we got it like 2006, 2007.
Yeah. So after the Virginia thing, I was looking for something, and my brother-in-law, who had been the warrant officer on our team on 6'5", was in SWIC at the time. He retired and went right into a GS position.
Okay.
And said, "Hey, look, I know the guys that hire the G Chief. I'm going to say something." Yeah. So I got on board
through a connection through that, and that would have been what year would you joined back?
Oh gosh. 08 maybe.
Okay,
09,
wow, right. So they started
like
using contractors again.
Well, yeah. Well, G Chief.
G Chief. Yeah.
But they had other contracts, like role play for some of the MOS committee.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to come on board one of those contracts to prove yourself.
I got you.
If you proved yourself, then if you had an opportunity, if they had an opening, you could get on it. At that time, an assistant G Chief.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so G Chief would have been a military personnel? Or?
Nope.
Oh, I still contractor.
Yeah, they paid contract for G Chief and assistant G Chief.
Gotcha.
So you had to be an assistant G Chief for probably a year
mm-hmm.
before they would even consider you as a G Chief.
Gotcha.
Which I think is great.
Yeah.
And you also had, like, if your G Chief gets sick or a family emergency has to leave, then you've got a guy
just
there.
Yeah, just as qualified, exactly. Yeah. So, and then you went from there and you became, and so for how long, from assistant G Chief, you became G Chief,
mm-hmm.
and then how long did you do your 10 years as V Chief?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. A few years.
A few years?
Yep. Then I made a decision had an opportunity to go back to SERE.
Oh, okay.
As a contractor.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
Work in the classroom. And did that for a couple of years, I guess.
Okay, so you went from contract here as a G Chief to SERE contracting, and then came back here, platform instructor, and then came back here after that.
After that.
As a lane manager or G Chief again?
Lane manager.
Lane manager, okay.
I actually applied as a G Chief. And the cadre that I had G Chief before, the sergeant,
yep.
was still there when I decided to come back as G Chief.
Oh, okay.
And he wanted me to come back there. He said, "Well, Mike, they're starting this position as an area manager.
Mm.
Why don't you apply for that? I would like to have you on the lane to do that." I'm sure I'll do that. Lo and behold, I get hired to do that. So, in Sage, assistant G Chief, area manager.
Yeah.
Did area manager for almost 5 years.
I'm right before. I mean, what year did you retire from area manager?
Oh, that was about 4 years ago.
I was about to say that was because it was right as I joined.
Yeah.
Byron had just taken over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings it up to modern times.
Yes.
And now
Now I'm a simple role player.
Simple role player.
I'm
He
semi-retired.
sits there quietly when he speaks. He holds court. So, well, Mike, like I said, this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation, and it's I'd like to say it's definitely part one, right? Like I definitely want, you know, having quantified your career and absolute, you know, mammoth journey. It would be a crying shame if the next time I'm out here we don't sit down again and build this, and take that wealth of knowledge you've got just to read the world and you know, have another conversation where now we've laid the groundwork. I think this is perfect for another conversation. And I just want to thank you so much for sitting down with me, and you know, I've talked about you on stream, and so it's great to finally get a episode and sit down and get one down.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
As always.
Well, guys, appreciate you joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.